And we are live. I am here with Mazer and Santo. Lonnie is joining us next week. We are talking Mushoku Tensei, but before we get there, we gotta talk about Shishio Kenshin. We already have a discussion in the comments. We're talking top 5 fights off the dome. I named mine. Mazer named his. Santo, name yours. But tell me why Shishio overheats. That's the only reason Kenshin wins, Santo. Tell me why. Tell me why I'm wrong.
That has nothing to do with Kenshin.
I mean,
What
you
are you
want to talk
talking
about?
about?
That's on
Well,
him.
if you want to talk about like plot armor, why don't we talk about how Jin Woo should have lost to Igris?
No, in my opinion, I think Jin Woo lost that fight.
Like
He
that
lost
was
that
plot
fight.
armor. You know what? Him and like the Cerberus.
Igris,
Like he should have lost that fight.
No, Cerberus, I think his ingenuity helped him pull it out at the last moment, but Igris, he lost that fight. Igris was beating his ass any way he wanted. Igris was beating his ass. That's why that Arise is so big, because when he gets Igris,
and now
I'm
they
like,
got
oh
the
my
English
God.
dub of it, and it's nasty. The English dub of it's out, and it's good.
I mean, episode 1 and 2 is just, it should be called plot armor because he should have been dead from off rip.
From the beginning of the show.
I mean, all right, let's get your top 5 off the dome, Santo. Top 5 anime fights of all time.
I mean, I'm with you. The Tengen fight, I think, is right now unrivaled in terms of animation and just feel good. Everything. It's everything you wanted in a fight. 2, I mean, I have to bring it back to OG Naruto. Give me Gaara and Lee.
Oh yeah.
When he drops his weights, I was like, okay, like
that's iconic.
If I'm being honest, Santo, the only reason that's not there is because I haven't seen it yet. I anticipate that with the minute I see it, and that's why I've been avoiding spoilers like crazy. The minute I see it, everything changes.
Yeah,
everything changes for me.
That's gonna be top 3 fights. Trust me.
That's a good. I didn't think of that one. That should be top 5.
I will say, I would go Bleach. Give me Grimjow and Ichigo.
That's a good one.
Man, Off the Dome is hard.
Yeah.
And are we talking just straight battle shonen or just like
anything?
If you gotta fight somewhere else, like I said in Mushoku Tensei, Dead End versus Orsted.
Because I was gonna say, give me a sports anime. I'm gonna go Kuroko no Basket. Kagami versus Almine.
Okay.
That battle on court was when I saw it and he finally got into the zone. I screamed.
Bro, you bringing up a whole new realm, because when you said that, my brain just went blue lock, and I was like, "Yo,
yeah,
that's you just changed battle's definition to me, and now my whole list is."
And I would say 5 just for nostalgia purposes. Let's keep it old school. Give me Frieza and Goku.
It's hard to find a more iconic fight than that. That's facts.
Would you say that fight struggles from the fact that not a lot's happening for a majority of episodes? Now, when it's at its peak, when Goku transforms, that is heat. And when they're actually fighting, I think it's actually pretty good. But I think it's more of a victim of time. Like if it was remastered, I think that fight could be possibly the greatest of all time.
I think it does. It does suffer from pacing of him actually turning Super Saiyan and actually getting into the fight. But the lead up to everything from Krillin dying, from them just trying to get off of the planet, from the planet getting destroyed, just the tension that was there. When I was a kid, I was like, oh my god, just like hurry up, even though it was like 3 weeks for 5 minutes. But I mean, that might be the most iconic moment of Goku finally turning Super Saiyan. Like the transformation that Vegeta was crying about. Like you actually finally saw it and it was like, oh my goodness, it was just epic. So I would put it at 5.
This might be a hot take, but I truly believe it in my heart. The first time Goku hits the unmastered Ultra Instinct for me is just over the top of his first Super Saiyan transformation, and it's close, but like I remember when that first his head comes up and the hair turns blonde for a second. I remember that like just shaking the ground under my feet as a little kid. But I feel like the stakes were higher somehow when he first hits that unmastered Ultra Instinct when he's fighting Kefla.
Okay.
And that was, oh man, the upside down Kamehameha surf.
Mazer, his greatest Kamehameha ever.
That was
all
insane.
time.
The 180 half flip surf up her, like, come on.
It was expertly drawn. It showed Goku's battle smarts, and he hit it at the perfect time. The only
Point blank.
The only reason Kefla does not like disintegrate like Cell did when he lost to Gohan's Kamehameha is because plot. She should not exist anymore.
Yeah.
With how point blank that Santo. Look at how bro. If they did the way he grinded that Kefla's blast, she would get like ultimate points in Tony Hawk Pro Skater. It was perfect.
Yeah,
it was perfect.
Is it greater than instant transmission Kamehameha wave on Cell?
Yes. You want to know why? Because at that point, Goku's just jumping. Ultra Instinct is killing it. But the minute Kefla does her blast, who saw that coming? Santo.
I mean, if we're talking who saw that coming, nobody saw the instant transmission without him doing
I understand that, but we knew he could use that.
But
that's why
we didn't know that he couldn't do it without the fingers to the forehead.
I still think because we've kind of seen people transform before or teleport before. I understand it's not the same as instant transmission. The fact that Goku at that, maybe it's just speaking for me. Once Kefla launches the blast, I'm like, oh my God, he's cooked. He's been dodging all this, but he's cooked. Who would have thought him saying, I'm just about to grind this with the Kamehameha still charging and then hitting the nastiest Kamehameha I've ever seen. Expertly drawn on somebody. And first things first, let's keep it a stack. The only reason Goku was in that position of having to rely on Ultra Instinct because he started trolling. If he just this is my biggest problem with Dragon Ball Z, which one day I'm gonna have a straight up discussion about how I think Dragon Ball Z could adjust to the newer audience, but that's a whole nother story. But I still think that Kamehameha is so nasty. But let's hurry up. Let's talk about this because we gotta dive into this Mushoku Tensei episode.
Yep.
What do you think? I still think it's the Kamehameha is right behind it, Santo. It's the Kamehameha is right behind it.
I think it's top. I think that's
no. The only reason is because it did kill Cell.
He was in half.
I mean, well, if you're gonna go
after
if you're gonna go with that,
is gone.
Vegeta's final flash that he pulls on Cell is iconic, and he doesn't kill Cell with that either.
By the way, Vegeta's final flash, for as great as it should be, name one person he's killed with it.
Oh, nobody.
That's the problem. I love the final. I think that low-key might be my favorite. No, that's a lie. Trunks's burning slash on Frieza.
On Frieza.
But
that was disrespectful.
I mean, if we're being honest,
he was trolling at that point. He's like, I'm so much stronger than this guy. It don't matter.
All of Vegeta's moves get hoed.
Low key.
Gun, Final Flash, Big Bang. The only thing that he does is self-destruct, and he still doesn't kill Majin Buu.
Low key, there was like a second where Trunks was like the strongest, and then Goku said, "Hold my beer." Trunks was the strongest.
Goku showed up and blocked his sword strikes with his finger.
That's when we didn't know where Goku was. So Trunks was the pinnacle for like 5 minutes. Trunks was the pinnacle. Gave Vegeta PTSD.
Now we'll have to do a whole different video on this, but the future that Trunks comes from makes zero sense to me. Because
why?
So Gohan and his like potential that he has, right? Mm-hmm. And a lot of his potential comes from rage, like from loss and from things like that. Mm-hmm. He was getting worked over left and right by Android 17 and 18. And then Trunks, he goes and trains with Vegeta and Goku a little bit, does a little hyperbolic time chamber action, shows up in just no efforts, 17, 18, and Cell when he gets back to the future.
Well, I will say this.
He gets back to the future in 0 efforts, all 3 of them. And he spent years training with Gohan prior to that.
Well, he didn't know how to transform in the future. I think when we first meet him,
Gohan did. Gohan did, and Gohan was getting worked over, losing limbs.
I will say this because remember, Gohan doesn't go in the chamber in the original. In the future timeline, he never goes into the chamber. Okay, so Goku dies. Goku dies of heart virus before he goes in the chamber with him.
Well, I'm saying that we're talking about Gohan's potential. He according to what everybody says about Gohan's supposed to be the strongest because of the latent potential that he has. And you go back to when like Raditz, like even early Dragon Ball Z, right? Like you take all that. And then you take into consideration he just lost everybody. Goku, Krillin, Vegeta, everybody's dead. And 17 and 18 are just working him over on a daily basis.
I just think it's because he doesn't. It stays potential. He never taps into it. And also,
he doesn't probably get as many Zenkai boots as you think because he has to heal naturally after every fight. So he doesn't. He can run to a sensu bean. There's no guardian who can heal him, and also they don't know the position of New Namek. The easiest solution is that I saw a fan fiction where Bulma leaves the planet to go find New Namek, and that's the solution in the future Trunks timeline. So they go find Dende or somebody who's willing to come by and heal Gohan every time. So since Gohan is fighting and legitimately getting his ass kicked, and he has to legitimately heal regularly as regular humans do, it's taking him months to come back. And at that point, the androids are running crazy all over the planet. So he doesn't get the Senkai boost that he does. How does Gohan achieve Super Saiyan? Is it just because of the tremendous loss of all of his comments and he finally turns? And then he loses his arm?
Same way Goku turned.
So but that way, see, this is the thing compared to because he never gets that Goku instruction. Because Goku basically cheats his way to give Gohan Super Saiyan. That's what Goku does. With Goku,
at least he doesn't get a tingle in his back like some people.
I get the crazy part is I've always wondered why Goku doesn't just use that day right in the future, that day that he's legitimately earned from saving the planet so many times in the universe. Just go back, kill the androids real quick, and allow Gohan to level up and also train Trunks because they're the future, right? Because because we know what happens after that, right? Kibito after the Trunks after the Android Saga's done, Majin Buu still happens, but Kibito dies, which means Beerus dies in the Majin Buu saga, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
And it shows it shows future Goku. You have this day where you can show up and fix the planet. You have this day. So why don't you go back, kill the androids, because you have that day. Maybe he uses that day earlier. Even if he doesn't have a day, let's say he has half a day. Future Goku could just roll up in there, kill both androids, and we're chilling. Half a day. He's so strong by that point that he kills both androids before Future Gohan dies. And now Earth has Future Gohan and Trunks to fix the timeline. Obviously, they rebuild Android 16, right? And they have 3 defenders of Earth. And maybe they still maybe and those 3 can still stop Oob, because I like to believe that Trunks, of all people, is smart enough to not even let us play with the guys to let Majin Buu get resurrected.
Well, that's what happened in the future timeline. Because when Future Trunks comes back in Super,
he was by himself in the future timeline, so he had to go through Babadi's spaceship by himself.
Yeah,
so
but
that's different
he kills,
than if he had Gohan.
He kills Babidi and Dabra before they release Buu. So Buu never actually wakes up in the future timeline.
But Kibito still dies.
Yeah.
So this is where I think it just shows that
the future timeline's just messed up, because then look what they did to our boy Trunks when he comes back in Super. Once again.
That's where I agree with you, Mazer. Future
timeline is just trash. The future timeline is just trash.
I'm not willing to say it's trash.
They gave us Future Trunks and Z, and that was the only good thing to come out of the future at this point.
I think Future Trunks is where all the consequences apply. That's what I think about Future Trunks and Z, where all the consequences happen, right? And I still think Bulma or somebody leaving Earth to go find Future Namek or New Namek is still a viable possibility. Somebody should still be doing that instead of waiting. Because even if, let's just say, Kibito doesn't die, by the time Beerus shows up to fight the Super Saiyan God, Trunks has no ability to turn Super Saiyan God. None at all.
No.
So he's cooked and Earth gets destroyed.
Yep.
So that's why I sit there and I wonder. I've always looked at future Trunks as the Dragon Ball like plot armor, the consequences, they all happen to future Trunks because he doesn't have the ability to wish on Dragon Balls or anything like that. Right. And I still don't understand why he becomes a time patroller. I don't like that part of his character. Eventually, at the end, that's where we know he's going to end up because of Xenoverse. He's going to become a time patroller. I don't like that. But I've always enjoyed Future Trunks because that's what he represents. All the consequences happening. All right. I still don't understand. Just give him Super Saiyan 3. Who cares? Just give him that. So now I'm supposed to, whatever this ascended form of Super Saiyan 2.
Gotenks went and took Super Saiyan 3, but originally that was supposed to be a Goku only thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then also
Vegeta never gets it. Gohan never gets
Broly in Future Trunks. He's never found him. He's never found Broly, and obviously it doesn't matter now because in his actual timeline, Goku Black or Zamasu destroys it. So Broly never exists in his actual timeline. But then he goes to a new one. This is my problem with them taking Trunks out the timeline. We've already seen that nothing tangibly happens with Trunks and Future Trunks in the same timeline. Just put them on a different planet. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, right? And only have Future Trunks come in when the universe is truly in danger. Because them taking Trunks out of that and sending him into like a peaceful universe doesn't make sense to me. I understand that it's cool. So Trunks, him and Mike can live peacefully with future Bulma or the next evolution of Bulma, whatever. But keep him in that timeline. Keep him in this actual timeline. He's always there. He's getting stronger. But then the fact that they had to, I love Tien. I love Krillin. But the fact that Future Trunks wasn't there makes no sense. Future Trunks should be there, even if he still ends up losing in the end, right? Because let's be honest, he's still not strong enough to take out some of the heavy hitters of Universe 11, right? Whatever universe Jiren is from. Even if he ends up losing to Jiren, it makes sense. But finding a dumb way to write because time doesn't matter. It don't fucking matter. They've been disrupting time since Future Trunks decided to come back and kill Frieza, and you was asleep. So just keep him there. Because Beerus should understand, or we should understand, that Future Trunks is an asset to protecting Universe 7. He just is. So I don't understand why you take him out of there. Because we've already seen that nothing happens by having two of the same person in the same universe. Nothing happens. It's not like young baby Trunks started unraveling because the time space continuum started going crazy. Nothing happened. So just keep him there and only have him there for emergency situations. That's why I feel that way. And once Santo gets back, let's start talking about the episode because we need to talk about it. But that's always feel. I'm always willing. I'm gonna ride for Future Trunks till I die because he's my favorite episode. He's my favorite character in Dragon Ball, and everything that happens to Future Trunks actually matters because he doesn't have the Dragon Balls to save his ass every time.
Yeah, no, he's my favorite character, which is why how they made him out to be in Super hurt me so much.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I agree with you. But
like, they had him with the long hair coming out of the hyperbolic time chamber. And everything, and I was like, "Yo, finally!" Woo! Like, Dragon Ball gets it. And then Super came out, and I was like, "What'd you do? Did you lose a bet?"
I don't know. This is where my problems with, and maybe Ty could explain it more when we eventually have that episode. But I think the biggest thing that Dragon Ball needs, remember when Baron Zemo from Civil War? I think he's the best villain outside of Thanos that the MCU has ever had because he could never challenge them physically, but he destroyed them mentally. Yeah. I think Dragon Ball needs a villain like that in their universe, where the minute Goku turns Super Saiyan, that villain is cooked. But he's so smart.
Yeah.
Maybe he finds a way to keep Goku and Vegeta and all them outside of Super Saiyan, and they fight that way because maybe he can fight with them in base form.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what they did with Moro a little bit because like their powers didn't like affect him because he used magic.
But they fumbled it.
Yeah.
If they kept that route where Goku even going Ultra Instinct doesn't matter because they need to find another way to beat him, I would have been okay. But it ultimately boiled down to them fighting. And you could do that for one arc where Goku and them should understand that the way we fight, the way we as Saiyans fight, is not going to work. It's just not anymore. So they should have found a way to do that and to show the evolution. The fact that I still have a big problem with Black Frieza because he just comes in, he one shots Goku and Vegeta in the strongest forms. I understand that they're not as strong anymore, right? Because obviously they're tired, they just fought gas, whatever. And ironically, the biggest casualty of the Granola arc is Ultra Instinct. I legitimately think Ultra Instinct should be the final form. And maybe he goes Super Saiyan 1 Ultra Instinct and goes from there. Unless you're going to add Super Saiyan 4, which ironically, I think that's Broly's form to attain now.
Yep.
Because of
I
the
agree
primal.
with that. I agree with that.
But if you're going to do that, then find different kinds of villains to challenge. Moro entertained the Dragon Ball populace because he was different, because he was smarter. Whether or not you want to rely on magic or not, that's what people were like when he wished on those Dragon Balls.
Yeah.
We were like, what did he wish for? Because he was smart enough to use. And then when he turned out, he just wished for what, an extra ship or some dumb shit like that.
Yeah.
People were disappointed because Moro presented a different challenge to Z fighters than they were used to.
They need a villain in Dragon Ball that is what Eren Yeager was to like Mikasa and Armin. Because he's like, I can't outsmart Armin and I can't beat Mikasa in a fight, so I'm gonna beat the crap out of Armin and then just outsmart Mikasa. Bang bang boom.
And a villain like that who challenges the Z fighters mentally instead of physically could do wonders for Dragon Ball. Could really do. And obviously with Akira Toriyama dying, that changes things, right? Because we know the manga is going to continue. But Akira Toriyama,
it's just going to be Toyotaro like doing it all.
Maybe with his input now that he's officially running the full manga, maybe he could do something else. And that's the one thing Berserk doesn't have, which ironically, I think the next chapter of Berserk is coming out on the 29th of April. And I like the direction that the Berserk new head writers are taking the series because Guts is at his lowest. So now, whether it's up to Rickert and whoever else to bring Guts back up, because through everything, Guts' sword has never failed him, but now it actually has because he couldn't stop Casca from being taken away again. So that's what makes Berserk so interesting to me. Maybe if they can find somebody who challenges the Z fighters mentally, I would really like that. And I'm gonna bring that up ironically on Tuesday on the BSS because Ty is the Dragon Ball guy. He's read OG Dragon Ball, he's read Z, he's read Super, and I want to see maybe a guy like that because I'm gonna make a video on that also because I legitimately think if they follow the Baron Zemo method, a guy who's so manipulative, so smart, so good with his words that maybe he makes Vegeta and Goku fight again because he knows I'll never be able to punch it out with both of them. But if I can win by making them fight each other and then I take the spoils, I think that could do great because them just like I can fight people one-on-one. JJ, you can say whatever you want about JJK. When there's somebody stronger than them, they just get to jumping.
Yep.
And that works. You can see that works. And Dragon Ball, I think, could benefit from something like that. Because Black Frieza is such a problem where he trained for 10 years in the hyperbolic time chamber, where the fuck he found it. And he's so strong to be able to one-shot Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego. That's a problem.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. By the time Goku and Vegeta train up, maybe even they call Beast Gohan so they could jump them all three. That's what should happen. And give Vegeta the final kill.
Because they'll never do that,
Frieza,
though.
I would agree with you.
They should, but they'll never do it.
I agree with you, but killing Black Frieza, Vegeta getting that kill would mean the most. Goku already killed him once. He already did. And we got Vegeta getting that final kill and eliminating Frieza from the equation forever should belong to Frieza. Should belong to Vegeta because of what it means of vegging the Saiyan race. serving under, getting all that. Even when he cried in Namek, that would mean the most to Vegeta, more than anybody else. But we've talked about it enough. All right.
Santo
Episode
coming back?
14. Huh?
Santo?
Whenever he's here, we'll talk about it. But
Okay.
episode 14 of Mushoku Tensei, Mazer, what did you think?
I liked it. I liked last week's episode. I loved this week's episode. This week's episode, I felt like was jam packed, like from start to finish. Because at first they're making the list. Who are we inviting to the wedding, or not the wedding, but the at least like the pre-party. And then they get to the point where they're like, oh, now we need to go shopping. And I genuinely like that he got clothes from the Beast Kingdom, because it's kind of still tying everything together. I thought that was a really nice touch. And then you get to the party itself. Everybody showed up, which was cool. I don't want to dive into like the spoiler too soon, but the revelation with Sylphie and her lineage, that I like I said, I haven't read it, so I didn't see that coming at all, and I thought that was masterful writing, and how they handled the situation. There we go. Yo.
There he is.
I'm sorry about that.
Right.
Spectrum trying to hold me down.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
We just started talking about this week's episode of Mushoku Tensei.
We started talking about Black Frieza and why I believe he's a problem. And I don't care what Ty says. I think Black Frieza is a problem for Dragon Ball, but we can talk about that another time.
Right. Let's get in. So we were talking about this episode. Who was talking?
Yeah, I'm letting Mazer go in.
Go for it.
I was just saying, I thought last week's was good. This week's was even better though. And I felt like it was just jam packed with good story. Like last week almost felt like a little bit fillerish with like the horror going on in the house and stuff. But here's the thing that Random's always saying, like, they don't do anything without like a reason. So I fully anticipate like that automaton robot and the research that's going on and everything. Now I expect that to show fruit later on, but I haven't read it, so I'll just wait for that time to arrive.
Same.
But this week was I didn't feel like there was a moment of filler in it at all. They planned the party, they invited everybody. We got the surprise with Sylphie's lineage. Just all in all, I thought it was a very, very well done episode from beginning to end.
So Santo, before you go, at the end of this, our talk together, I'm going to ask you guys who you guys thought the MVP of the episode is and your most significant moment of the episode. But Santo, what did you think of episode 14?
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think after seeing Rudius go through a lot of downs, like it finally feels like he's getting some kind of peace. Like I like the story where it's at. I think that me being a fan of just anime, I haven't read anything either, so I'm picking it up as I go. Like Mazer said, there's nothing that is shown without purpose. So like the entire time I have this sense of unease. Like this show has ruined me. It's like we can't feel good for too long because something's going to happen. So to see him finally get the house all built up, I was like, yes, we needed this victory, but what's gonna happen when he finds out about that robot? Where is it from? What's this? Like it has me going into conspiracy theory mode and stuff. Finding out that you can turn a hoe into a housewife, because that moment was very feel good when Cliff finally says that I love her and I'm going to do everything in my power because she loves me and I love her, that I'm gonna lift her curse. And finding out that she's a grandma too, it was like, okay. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. It felt good, but for some strange reason, it has like this eerie undertone that something bad's gonna happen soon. I don't know if that's just me because the show has ruined me. I have no faith that this is going to be happy. Like I don't know. Like I said, I haven't read anything, but I am very curious to see what goes on in the upcoming episodes.
Well, obviously, I'm one of the three who's all the way read up. Like I'm even reading. I'm waiting for the redundancy chapters. Y'all don't know about redundancy, and when you get to the redundancy chapters, if they do decide to make it if they do decide to make a spinoff of it, you can understand why the fan base is up in arms about the redundancy chapters. But this episode highlighted what I love most about Mushoku Tensei and also highlighted a big fear I have about Mushoku Tensei, right? So, this episode highlighted how Mushoku Tensei handles its slice of life moments and its character moments, right? A lot of people got a lot of love in terms of character. Luke got a lot of love. Ariel got a lot of love. And anybody who remembers watching the episode 0 about Sophie as she became Fitz, they got a really big payoff in this episode. But, and I'm going to say this, and I mentioned this earlier in my Mushoku Tensei review, and one of my other ones was like, I'm worried. We're supposed to get 12 episodes in the second core. I'm worried those 12 episodes are not enough to get what we need. And this is possibly because whether or not it's the traditional 12 episode, runtime or the hold on one second. Whether or not there's enough time. And I think I'm a bit spoiled by this because of Frieren. And let's be 100% honest. Frieren got 31 episodes in his first season. That's never going to happen again for Frieren. They're going to find a way to put Frieren into 24 episodes because the amount of remarkable confidence that they had in Frieren to give it 31 episodes with the first 3 episodes given out at once is amazing. Santo, we've talked about it a lot for sure. And Mazer, we will talk about it a lot. And I mentioned that a lot in my Frieren review of that series. Mushoku Tensei, given 12 episodes to this season is admirable, but I'm worried that the 12 episodes are not enough, right? There's a character coming up, and I think the next episode title said a lot to me.
Yep.
She's gonna get. I'm saying she to give you a hint, but this person's gonna get a lot of love. That I'm worried that once they get to the Labyrinth arc, and Santo, you can tell everybody and anybody how much I've been gassing up that arc. The Labyrinth arc is what should make people be like, this is it. After them turning point 2, when they meet Orsted and realizing, oh my God, this person is a complete problem. Turning point 3 and the Labyrinth arc should be what cements Mushoku Tensei in the Isekai pantheon. And I'm worried that that's not going to get enough love. And by the way, anybody who watched the opening from Mushoku Tensei, by the way, beautiful opening.
Great music.
Fantastic opening. And that's where I'm sitting there like, I'm smiling because I know what's going to happen. And I'm sitting there like, God, it sounded me and you were watching that in the Discord. I'm like, oh my God. You would have been hearing like, oh my God, I can't believe they're showing this in the opening because you guys have turning point 3 should have you guys feeling like X-Men 97 episode 5.
That one scarred you.
I'm still shook from X-Men 97 episode 5. But my biggest fear is that they're not going to have enough time to animate the Labyrinth arc the way it should, because that's so once I'm going to kind of talk and I'm going to let you guys talk about it. Once we get to the wedding reception, the biggest thing I want you guys to notice was what Nanahoshi's actions were in the source material. Her even deciding to go to the wedding reception was such a huge moment for her character. And the fact that when she's leaving, or even when she's there, the fact that she's eating potato chips. By the way, potato chips do not exist.
No,
in the six-sided world.
He said that he made them for her. They
do not exist. The fact that she was just chowing them down with her mask is huge. The fact that when she's leaving and she asked to come back and use her bath is huge. The fact that Sylphie asked that question to Nanahoshi is huge, which says a lot about Sylphie's character. Okay, I'm gonna say this right now because I'm gonna spoil it for me. My MVP of the episode was Sylphie. That's who my MVP was. Because you want to know why Sylphie is so important to the story? When Rudius is struggling to say that, when he was starting to even speak to say the speech at the start of the reception, and Sylphie just grabs his hand and says, "Go for it." That's why Sylphie's important. Sylphie is the reason why Rudius is able to even stand up as he did. Because let me keep it a stack with you guys. That whole Academy arc was Rudius coping. Eris leaving scarred Rudius for years. Years. Sarah is a direct casualty of Eris not writing a complete sentence.
R.I.P. Sarah.
And the fact that Sylphie was able to bring Rudius back. By the way, the only time in anime history they've ever used erectile dysfunction as a plot device. And it worked.
Yeah.
I want you guys to understand that. Erectile dysfunction
ironically
was used as a plot device, and it worked. And that's why Sylphie is so important, because when Rudius is at his lowest, Sylphie's the person behind him that pushes him to keep going forward.
Yo, could we take a moment to appreciate her character growth from where she was when Rudius met her as a child?
Facts.
The little scared girl. And then she looks Nanahoshi in the face and she's like, "What you mean you're from the same place?" Like, that little like timid girl is gone.
Gone.
Like, she's got stones now. Like, she didn't hesitate to talk to Elena-Lise. She didn't hesitate to talk to Nanahoshi. Like, she has come such a long way and is beautiful. And I love it. I love it so much. Her character development has been just beautifully written, beautifully executed. I'm here for. I'm Team Sylphie all the way. All right.
Same.
Eris is for the streets.
For the streets.
I've been saying it.
Like, I kept telling Random that this anime is giving me such a roller coaster of emotion. Like I said earlier, like, I have this feeling of dread because it's too happy right now. But when you said I'm Team Sylvie, when Rudius wakes up and there's no one in bed,
I was crushed. And I know what happened, Sato. I was crushed.
I said, not again. And when she entered, like, literally, I was Rudius. I cried. I was like, thank you.
I couldn't tell if my heart was broken or if I was being saved from something. I'm there with you. Like, when he woke up and she was gone and he saw the little blood spot on the bed, I was in the depths with him. I was feeling real low, and then she walked back in, and like, so I can't tell if my heart was broken or if I was feeling elated. Like, I was roller coaster of emotions. You said it. Like, there's no other way to put it.
And the symbolism of that, like, the first time that happened, he saw that her hair, the red hair on the ground, and like, she never returned. Now he sees that red blood spot and just pops in smiling, like.
And then she has the nerve to tell him not to leave. What? Which I think was actually a big thing for him, because then he's like, well, shit, I ain't leaving. But then he thinks about what that means. That means that she ain't leaving, because it don't matter if he leaves if she's planning on leaving.
That's why I tell everybody, and I told Rodell, and I understand that Rodell will never watch this.
He won't.
But the minute he does, he's going to swear by Rudius. He's going to swear by him. Rudius is maybe the most human isekai main character of all time. Because no other isekai character that at least I've come across has ever gone through what Rudius does. And I understand you want to call him what you want to call him. By the way, anybody who talks mess about Mushoku Tensei, that's a slippery slope. Because if you really want to talk about it, y'all love, let me use Riddell. Riddell loves Eren. Whether or not you want to call him or not, he murders billions of people. Billions. Because that's the answer that he came across. Overlord Anos Voldigod murders millions of innocent people because a noble chose to take some supplies from him. Guts murders people because whether or not he thinks that's war or he's just trying to get at Griffith, he lets millions of people die. This is a slippery slope if you truly want to have this argument. That's why I never try to argue with people whether or not you think Rudius is good or not. But this episode, I want you guys, hopefully you guys caught a few of these things, whether or not it's how Ariel was moving before the duel and during the duel itself, how Luke was moving during the duel, or even the significance of the duel, and Lily's himself. And I'm not going to spoil Lily's character arc, but I'm going to say this. Elena Lee's, because I know, because it's never going to come up, she is way older than you think she is. That's all I'm going to say.
Well, she's elvish. I already assume she's probably like in the hundreds, if not like 1,000-year-old range.
And once again, because we explored this in the second half of the first season, the reason why she has that curse and the reason why she's basically fan service to the extreme is because she has to. If she doesn't if she doesn't fuck, she's going to die. And the way that she has it is perfect. And you see it when she interacts with Soldat, which, by the way, even now, I'm still sad she couldn't be there, but thank God Beta Gotti was there, because Beta Gotti was there to make the party happen, and that significance. And this is just where the light novel to anime adaptation is just lost, right? Because you can't adapt the feeling, that the significance that Beta Gotti does to make the party happen, right?
Yeah. And you get a sense that she's known Beta Gotti from times past, because she's like, yo, he might be a month late.
And that's and you see why, especially when it comes to the strong demons, where they kind of, you see, because you know how in Reincarnates of Slime, where demons are stronger the longer they live, Beta Gotti has been around for a very long time. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm going to say. And Elimelise has known him for just as long. So that's why when you get the revelation that Elimelise is Sylvie's grandmother, it's so big. And how Elimelise sees herself, and I hope you guys really understood that. Elimelise hates that about it, even though she's very confident, right? When she has to have intimate relations with somebody, she has a perfect system that works. She pays them. It's like an adventurous quest. She doesn't try to get with them or anything like that. That's why when she chose Cliff, it's huge.
Big.
It's big that she chose Cliff. Basically, it's like, for lack of a better term, the biggest hoe that you know choosing the most church godly man you around that you interact with. And it's huge because what does Cliff do? He doesn't reject her.
No.
He accepts her. And the fact that Cliff is like, I'm going to cure this, and which leads to why I have such big trepidations about what episode 2 is going to, because let me say this right now, y'all are not ready to meet Odious. That's why I say y'all are not ready for the Labyrinth arc, because when you meet Odious, and anybody who's in the Mushoku Tensei subreddit knows what Odious means. When you meet Odious, Santo, you're going to look at me the same way I looked at you with the Labyrinth arc, or with the X-Men episode 5, where you don't know what to do with yourself. Odious is such a big character in the story, and he's only there for a chapter in the light novel. He's such a big character. That's why I'm sitting there saying, y'all are not ready. After Turning Point 3, maybe the greatest turning point of all, because everything that happens after that until Turning Point 4. That changes the entire story. And I know I say that every time you see a turning point, the story changes. And I'm like, y'all are not ready. And I'm worried that they just don't have enough time with the episodes to do that. Because guess what? Next episode, you've already met Rudius's little sisters. You're going to meet them the next episode because of the episode title alone. but
Yeah.
you're not ready.
So wedding
Because
reception.
that's what I'm like, that's you're
Mhm.
sprinting across that before the actual turning point 4 happens or turning point 3 happens. So tell me your favorite parts of each episode. And if you guys have any questions, I'll obviously answer them to the best of my ability without spoiling. But also, I'll tell you guys my biggest points of the episode after you guys have talked. So whoever wants to go
Gotcha.
first.
Go ahead.
Yo, I'm gonna take a minute to give love to the situation that unfolded with Sylphie and Elena Lace. We talk about like the characters being portrayed as human. In particular, we talk a lot about Rudy as being a very human MC. Um, she's portrayed herself throughout the series so far as very like side characterish, like not necessarily like an NPC, but like definitely not like main character like sort of situation. And the interaction that she has with Sylphie, where she like falls to the ground crying, and they take her to another room to calm down, and then they go and they have another discussion. Like that's main character type interaction that I wouldn't expect for a side character to get. And so I thought that was major. And Sylphie, again, talking about Sylphie's growth, she pegged it. She knew exactly. And she even goes into the backstory about how it made it difficult for her father to marry. And because she's like, your grandma can't be a hoe. And then she's like, well, my dad had problems getting married for some reason, sort of thing. But she didn't like put any like angst or like negative emotion into it. Like she said it in a very, I mean, as comforting a way as you can say it. Like you're not just gonna get away with like trying to like talk your way out of this. Like this is who you are. And then beyond that, Ariel having Luke and Rudius fight, I think was huge. And I think that the conversation that they had after the fight was even bigger, because she goes as far as to tell Rudy, like, stop her from coming to us. Like, if she's still trying to come, like, you need to stop her. I think that she is under the impression that there's a solid chance that she doesn't get the throne. And she doesn't want, my God, my brain just shut off. Sylphie. She doesn't want Sylphie to necessarily be a part of that. I think she still feels bad about how she got Sylphie to be her servant in the first place. And so, like, I think that the fight was making sure that he had the power to protect her. And once he proved that he beat Luke and he's like, hey, like, I got the juice, she's like, hey, you need to stop her from coming. And I thought that conversation was huge. But at the same time, the inner dialogue that Rudius was having, like, shit, I can come too. Like, I loved that whole thing. So ultimately, the MVP of the episode to me actually ended up being Ariel. And and all of that for me was in the last like 5 minutes of the episode. Like, she really didn't do much throughout the episode until the very end. But for me, like, it was so impactful, like, that she had them fight and then she had that conversation with them, that like it took ownership of the episode. It's like whenever you have somebody, guest appear on a track and then they have the best verse, like that's their song now. Sorry, you just did that, but that's that person's
Mazer's
song
cooking right now. That's all I'm gonna say. The
like,
Mazer's cooking right now, Santo.
That's what just happened in the episode today. Like, Ariel at the very end showed up, and that's her episode now. And that's it for me. Like, that's my 2 cents in the episode.
Santo.
I mean, how do you follow that up?
I mean, he was cooking. That was tough, man. He was cooking a full course meal right there.
Just go ahead. I mean, I agree with everything you said. I think for me, the MVP was Sylvie. Like we've been talking about her character development, her growth, the fact that even when like she stands straight. She doesn't give that feeble, meek character anymore. She's sure of herself. The only thing that she's unsure of is how sometimes she has to deal with Rudius. But other than that, like, she's confident, she's secure and everything. For me, I go back is Cliff and Lise. Like, that to me, I enjoyed that more than pretty much anything in the show. Because
Santo, to
understanding,
cut you off for a quick second, I'm gonna be 100% honest, and I don't mind telling y'all this. The best couple in Mushoku Tensei is Cliff and Alina Lace. It is. It's the best couple in my opinion.
I'm
And
not.
So my man
it's
didn't
sometimes,
hesitate for a
depending on the
second.
chapter, it's not even close. It's not even close.
My man didn't
Their
hesitate for a second. He said, "We
their
breaking this curse."
their dichotomy,
That's it.
because Alina Lace is cursed. What Cliff believes about his religion, which is I forget the name of the religion. It's basically like Mushoku Tensei's version of Christianity.
Yeah.
And the
Mhm.
fact that he's willing to, in a weird way, discern that to work with Sophie, because in our own world, we've seen these kind of relationships happen where whether or not it's a whether or not, if you want to flip the genders or whatever, not somebody who's deep into Christianity and somebody who's definitely was not, and they somehow make it work, because you know how it is, opposites attract, and they find a way to make it work. We've seen that before. That's why I've argued in the Mushoku Tensei subreddit, I've argued in fan forums, fan fiction, whatever. It's the best ship in Mushoku Tensei, whether or not you like it or not, because it works. And once again, I'll bring up Odious again, because once you meet Odious and you see what happens around that character, Santo. But let me let you cook. Let me let you cook, because I don't want to spoil. Let me let you cook.
But okay, so let me backtrack. Okay, Lise and Cliff. So from the inception of their relationship, she has this curse, blah 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 blah. She has to do certain things that adults do to stay alive, pretty much.
I feel bad for Roxy. She learned that in the worst way.
And just the fact that Cliff is such, like, it's so interesting. Just the moral character takes the most immoral character of the show and says, you know what, I'm here to help. I'm not going to judge you. I don't even think they've done much of anything more than just really just being in love with each other.
You don't know how much Santo Elena is holding back.
Like,
you don't know how much.
But that's the thing. You can see it. You can see, like, there's tension in that aspect. But the fact that Cliff, and this was my favorite part of the whole episode for me, when Cliff looks at Rudius and says, "Because I love her and I'm breaking this curse." And Rudius didn't, like, you see, like, Rudius expression change because it triggers something in him. Like, I understand what you mean. Like, and I'm here to help in any which way. Like, just the mere fact that
he was mad for a second. Like, Rudius was mad for a second, but like, he didn't have the story.
Like Cliff was like, have you seen Hunter x Hunter?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see when Gon is, like, literally looking at Pito and, like, hurry up, and if you do anything, like you're going to die.
Yeah.
Like, that is literally the feeling I got from Cliff. Like, I am putting my entire life to fix this because I love this woman. Like, to when she was emotional and she broke down and she fell down, the first person next to her was Cliff. When she was in the room and they had to ask Cliff, like, hey, can we talk to her? Like, all of that, like, to me, like, those were my favorite moments. I'm like, you go defend your woman, bro.
And then when Cliff stepped out of the room, the first thing he said is, "Are they gonna be all right?" Like, he was still concerned about her.
Yeah.
Like, I might be stretching here a little bit, but honestly, like, we've been comparing, like, Cliff's religion to Christianity, and if you, like, have studied the Bible, Jesus didn't spend his time around, like, priests and stuff like that. Like, even, like, the moment before he died, the guy that was on the cross next to him asked for forgiveness, and he gave it to him without a moment's hesitation. So, like, the way that they're portraying Cliff is very well, like, following that same train, but in a very, like, unhypocritical way. Like, he's walking the walk that his faith if it does mirror in the same way that we're talking about, he should be walking. Like it's beautiful. I'm a huge fan of it.
It's to the point like he doesn't care. Like he really doesn't even give it a second thought of anything that she's done. And you see it, and it's like that emotion that it's so genuine. Like that's the feeling you get from Cliff. And he looks at Rudy. It's like he looks at his soul and says, I am curing this because I love her. I was like, there you go. That is what a relationship is. And so that to me was my favorite part of the episode.
That is why whenever I talk to somebody about Mushoku Tensei, I tell them, I understand it's an isekai, right? You are not prepared for this kind of story direction. That's why Santo on VS.
And these are side characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I pushed Tai of all people because Tai can explain it better than me. When Tai catches all the way up, I hope he gets what these characters are doing. I'll be 100% honest with you. When I watched the episode and I saw once Sylphie goes inside to talk to Elenilis, I cried because I know what that means. And that's where the translation from between different adaptations mean. And I'm legitimately trying to stop myself from it. Elenilis' story is so tragic that God, she could get a whole anime movie of its own. And that's when I said she's a lot older than you think. She is so important. She is so vital. The fact that she's chosen Cliff as her arguably soulmate. The fact that she's willing to be this vulnerable with everybody when she's lived for years with other people. She's done this for years. Yet for Cliff, she's like, I'm willing to forego. I'm willing to try to fight my curse. And when Rudius understands that, remember, when she's crying, right? And Rudius screams up close and she's like, it's okay. Hey, I understand. You should be more worried that you're possibly related to Paul than anything else. And she realized that is a joke, but that's a big thing. One of the biggest points of Rudius's of Linalis' character is that she doesn't want to be related to Paul. Right? And it's not just because of Paul, but it's also how she sees Rudius. One of the biggest things that you should understand how Rudius and Elenilis see each other. We talk about how men and women cannot be friends, how men and women cannot have that platonic relationship. That's what they have. That where like when all else fails in terms of us being together, I'll tell you this right now. They're never going to get together. Even worst comes to worst and Lililis needs to cure her curse, she's never going to get with Rudius. I'll tell you that right now. That's not a spoiler. That's what this episode told you. They're never going to get together. Even if Lililis is about to die from her curse, she's like, I'm never going to fuck Rudius. Because that's what she feels about him. There's a reason why when after Sarah was gone, she chose to travel with Rudy. Of all people, she could have just stayed with Soldat's party, paid them for the quest, and stayed with them. But she chose Rudy. She chose to go to the Magic Academy with Rudy because that's how they see each other. And I get mad when people just rely on Santo and Mazer, the ultimate thing, when they talk about Mushoku Tensei, which is true.
Yeah.
About Rudy's past life.
Yeah.
But if you're not willing to go through it and see why at turning point 2, when Orsted is tearing through Dead End and Eris is crying because I don't know, Orsted just kills Rudy. He's dead. He's dead. And if it wasn't for Nanahoshi saying, hey, on a whim, by the way, maybe we should keep him alive. And you guys don't know how important Orsted, who you guys think is the final villain, is. That little whim statement by Nanahoshi is so important. So when Elenilis and Rudy finally get together as a party, I'm trying my hardest, obviously not to spoil, but I'm trying my hardest not to cry. Because when I tell you, you have never seen this kind of story or character depictions, writing, direction in an isekai before. Say what you want about Subaru. And the fact that he dies because he's just trying to make the people around him safe, that pales in comparison. That pales in comparison to Rudy. Because Rudy doesn't have the ability to go back in time when every time he dies. This kind of character writing is unparalleled in anime. And I'm not trying to be facetious. From the moment Sophie says, "Oh, you might be my grandma," and I'm mad that the anime kept that conversation out. That conversation is so important, but I understand why they kept it out, because maybe they do it in OVA, Santo. Maybe they do it in another place. That conversation is so important. When Helena realizes that Sophie is her granddaughter, and they don't make it a big thing, but it is important. But they don't go out their way to be like, "This is important, viewers. Really watch this. Really do whatever." Because, like I said, nothing Mushoku Tensei does is without purpose. When it was weird watching Roxy masturbate when Paul and Zenith were getting together in episode 2 to episode 9, when Rudy was prepared to drown that whole city for Eris. I believe episode 9 or 10 to episode technically it was 28, when Rudy was ready to kill himself because he fumbled it with Eris, with Sarah. He was ready to kill himself, and Soldat slaps that knife out of his hand because that shit's important. There's a line going through all those different moments to get to where they are today, where Rudy has never been more healthy, more confident, more ready for anything, because he found the person he's supposed to be with forever. And like I said, that moment when Rudy can't talk and Sophie just grabs his hand and said, "Go for it." That's all it took for Rudy to be confident and start talking to the people around him. Was it perfect? No, because Beta Gotti said, "Yo, fuck all that. We know these people love each other, but let's start having fun." That moment as you watch Nana Hoshi eat potato chips, by the way, which is something that world has never seen, and guess what? It's only for her. He never makes it for Sophie. He never makes it for Eris. He never makes it for Roxy, Ariel, Zenith, Sarah, all the other women he comes across. It's only for Nana Hoshi. Because obviously we know she's the girl that Rudy saves when he gets his ass kicked by his family after they find out what he's been doing with that camera in the old world, and he saves her life, but she still gets got along with him.
She gets summoned.
She gets summoned. She causes the meta disaster, and when Sophie is the one time we've seen Sophie go for blood, who does she try to kill, Santo? Who does she try to kill?
Her.
That's why the only time you truly, so far that we see the anime, the one person, Sophie is a goddamn sweetheart, but who does she not like, or who does she have an adversarial relationship against? Who does she have it with, Santo?
And what's crazy is that I felt that even when she pretty much pressed her at the end, like where do you guys know each other from? Like what was that question?
Pay attention to that interaction, Santo. That like interaction is always going to be there.
Like it wasn't like
it was almost like a passive aggressive.
Yeah, it's like you guys are hiding something and you're going to tell me sooner or later.
She's not pressing Rudy for it.
That, by the way, Nana Hoshi is a secret MVP in my opinion, because in the story, that is the first time you see her kind of open up, right? She's been like trying to get home so badly, right? That she has basically she's basically disavowed the world. But when she decides to even go to his wedding reception with Sophie, that's such a huge moment in her character. And that's where the translation between the light novels to the anime is lost. Because you can't truly make that a big moment, right? because that would ruin the flow of the episode. But that's such a big moment for her. And then when she's leaving, she's like, "Hey, can I come back and just take a bath here sometimes?" Do you know how big that question is? For the first time in Anna Hoshi's life, she's accepting something about the world. And all it is just her taking a bath. That's all
well,
it is.
it's because it's the only place really in that world that she can expect for something from her old world to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Like those chips. Like now she's like, you know what? I bet he has a proper bath in this house. And I think that there's an unspoken thing. I think that neither one of them know who each other are in comparison to the old world.
I think they've already said in the anime that Rudy knows who she is. She doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
So he knows that she's the one that he saved before he died. Because
I
haven't gotten that from the show at all.
I'll say this: go back when you have a second, Mazer, and rewatch their interaction. Let me tell you this right now: when he sees them, whatever the hell their interaction with those three students, that is very important. But that's all I'm going to say.
Okay.
And hopefully they kind of reach it. But I think by the time you learn that, that's episode 3 material or season 3 material. And when we have that discussion, God, 2 years from now, Mazer, you guys are going to be looking at me. You're going to be like, what? You're going to be you might be screaming, Mazer, about what that interaction meant. But that's why I sit there. And one of the big things I say, Santo, how many times have I said it? Nothing Mushoku Tensei does, from whether it's watching Linnea eat those goddamn chicken wings or the chicken bone things or the fucking turkey legs.
Yep.
To Rudius, like freaking carrying Roxy's panties around as a freaking holy icon of his. All of that matters.
And he still does it.
And he still does it to this day.
He's getting married. He still does it.
Look, to me, like, I'll go back and I'll rewatch it. I still feel like they don't know who each other are. They just know they're from like the same place. And I could be wrong about that. I had to go back and I had to rewatch and see if maybe there's something that I overlooked. But I get the same vibe from that I do when it comes to Rimuru dealing with Diablo. And I know Santo's watching it, so I'm not going to dive into spoilers.
God. But like, next week, finish it up, Santo. Finish it up so we can dive into it.
Like he knows he's somebody, but he doesn't know who he is. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's like that. Like Rudius knows that she's from the same place, but I feel like he doesn't know that he saved her life once. Like like I said, I could be 100% wrong on this, and I'll need to go back and rewatch. But that's huge as the viewer, because as the viewer, you know. And so you're watching these interactions, and they have a whole different weight than the interactions that he would be having with anyone else that was isekai'd there. Because there's an implication there. And then you go back to last week's episode when she's like, sometimes just being with that person is enough. And then you're like, oh, kind of like when you're just sitting, kind of like when you're just sitting in a room drawing magic circles and not doing nothing. Like to me, I'm like, okay, so she's low key maybe dropping that she's feeling him. And then I'm like, but does she actually feel him, or is she, like we talked about last week, experiencing that sensation where she's romantically like thinking about the person that saved her life, not realizing that was him? Like, to me, like there's so much. Like there's so much implication. There's so much implication that's unspoken. But like then you look into like and you feel the depths of it and you're like, oh, like
About to say, Santo, what do you think about that? Mazer thinks that she's in love with the person that saved her from the truck. And obviously we know that person that saved her was Rudy. What do you think about that implication?
I think there's some. It could be there. I do think that I like how you said, like in this episode, she's opening up more. I think that she might be, in my opinion, I think that she hates the world that she's in. She wants to go back.
Why? Why does she want to go back so bad? She has a good life in this world. Why does she want to go back so bad?
She traveled with Orsted forever. And from what we've seen in the world, Orsted is the strongest person that we've seen in the Mushoku Tensei world, and she traveled with him.
And she
I
lives a
don't
pretty privileged life in this
I
world.
don't
So
know.
what does she have in the old world
And
that she wants
she's
to get back to
highly
so bad?
famous. She's highly famous because while she's not using all of her modern knowledge, she's using enough to make herself protected, whether or not it's by the Academy, whether or not it's by Rudius, whether or not it's by Orsted, who, by the way, once again, I will say it again, and I'm not saying this to be facetious, he is the strongest person we've seen in the show so far. So
So
people know if they want to mess with the girl in the white mask, aka Nanahoshi, you're gonna run into Orsted. And for what we've seen, how Orsted dealt with Rudius and Dead End, he ain't pulling no punches.
have they I don't know, or I might, if I'm misremembering. I mean, did they say why she's traveling with him? That she traveled with him?
They will. They might
They
let you
haven't.
know. They might let you know in this second court. If not, you'll definitely learn in
Okay.
season 3. But I'm not going to spoil it.
So this is where I'm getting. I don't know why she wants to go back. I don't know why she has that feeling to go back or whatnot. But what I'm thinking is that she saw Rudia say, I am not trying to go back at all. And I think it kind of like piqued her curiosity, like, why? And I think this episode, like, we keep going back to that potato chips, the bath. Like, I think it's Rudius, not directly, but showing her like there might be better times here than going back. Like the entire time she's been back, it's been with Orsted, walking around the entire world, blah 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 blah, doing that. Like now she's actually like, I'm going to a reception. I'm enjoying myself. I can relax. Like maybe it's kind of hinting like maybe she doesn't. Now she's like having this internal conflict. Like, should I even be investing everything into going back, or maybe I should give this world a try? And Rudius might just be the vessel to provide that for her. I don't think it's a love thing. I think it's a, why do you feel, why don't you want to go back? And seeing everything that he found someone that cured his disease, or makes him a better person, like gives him strength. Like he has the respect of so many people. So many people are behind him. Like, not a jealousy thing, but I kind of would like that. So maybe it's her opening up to the possibility of, maybe I really don't need to go back. Maybe there's something more than just walking around the world with Orsted. Maybe I can have my own life here. That's what I think. That's what I got from it.
Well, obviously, in the interest of not spoiling anything else, there's one last interaction that I want to highlight to you guys because you guys haven't brought it up. The duel between Luke and Rudius. Obviously, they're both gray rats, right? And I want to say, I know you brought it up, but we haven't. Let me ask you guys a question. I'm gonna let you guys dive in because I gotta run somewhere real quick, and I'll be back. And I want to get your guys' interaction. What do you guys think about the duel itself? And also, what do you guys think the significance of the duel is? Obviously, they kind of say it in the story, but I'm gonna let you guys go into it, dive into a little bit, and then I'll be right back. And then if you guys have any questions, obviously, if not, because it's already out there, they've already said it, I'm gonna tell you guys the significance of it and Ariel. Because when Mazer said she's also an MVP, I agree with him. I was actually kind of shocked that you chose her to be MVP because in this episode, she doesn't really get the love that you'd like to think she deserves from the source material. But for Mazer to choose her as the MVP from basically, if you're being honest, about 5 minutes of material from her was significant to me. But I'm gonna let you guys cook. I'll be right back.
All right. Santo, go ahead.
Regarding the duel, I guess I need to rewatch it, because I did find it interesting that, of course, it's two gray rats, and he told him pretty much like the entire time, like, what's the reason for this? And she was kind of like almost cryptic type thing. they have the duel. He completely gets outclassed. Um, and then she has her speech. I don't know if maybe I just need to look more into it, but I saw like what was said regarding we. It's pretty much we just wanted to see if you could pretty much take care of Sylvie because we care about her so much, type thing. But I guess what I'm missing is when she acknowledged that she might not get the throne. Like I need to look deeper into that. If you could explain more of that to me.
So from what I got, and I will preface with this: I overread into things a lot.
Mhm.
So I could be 100% just out in left field chasing butterflies and have no idea what I'm talking about. But to me, Ariel knows that Rudius, when it comes to magic, at least at the academy, is unrivaled.
Mhm.
So one of her requirements for that duel was no magic.
Mhm.
So she wants to know, okay, if you are in the tightest of places, you can't use magic. Whether it be you're tired, you lose your magic, whatever it is, like Sylphie needs to stay safe. And again, I think that she harbors a lot of guilt about how she kind of coerced Sylphie into her position. And
Mhm.
so she's like, hey, take that away. You can conjure a sword if you want, but like you need to have just a legit sword fight. And then he's like, well, what about his sword? Because it could slice me in half. She does not tell them to dull the blades. She didn't tell them to do anything. She wants it to be dangerous.
Mhm.
Like she wants that threat of your life potentially ending to be in their duel. And I think that all of that stems from, again, them wanting Sylphie to be protected because, again, they've adventured together for a while as they were traveling from their nation to the school. They've been in some situations where life was kind of on the line. But at the same time, I think that she does not want Sylphie to come with her when they leave. And does he also have the strength, aside from magic, does he also have the strength to stop her from following
Mhm.
them? So I think it's twofold. Not only him being able to protect her if he doesn't even have magic, like, can you still defend her? But at the same time, like, are you also strong enough to stop her from coming after us? So I think it was twofold. And then at the same time, as a small subplot, I think that it was a an opportunity for Luke to vent his frustrations a little bit because we know him and Rudius haven't necessarily like gotten along per se.
Mhm.
And at the same time, I think that in the background, she expected him to lose, maybe not in like two swings, like it was a super fast fight. But at the same time, I think that it also served a dual purpose of humbling Luke a little bit and letting him like, you know, maybe I should be working a little harder, maybe I should be training a little harder, sort of situation. Maybe light a fire under him to let him know like you don't have the juice that you think you do. So I guess like that I might be overreading into that. That might be just me imagining things, but I'm going to throw that in there too.
Santo.
Oh no, I went
Santo
already.
started.
Okay, so I will say this about the significance of that duel, right? When it comes to Ariel, she's one of my favorite characters in the Mushoku Tensei story because you want to talk about how politics works in Mushoku Tensei. She's the embodiment of it, right? From everything we've kind of seen, whether or not it's just from Rudius's point of view or Elena or even Sylphie, you never really get her inner thoughts that much. Like for instance, when Guts and Griffith have that duel in the snow before Guts leaves and Griffith ultimately goes down the road to the eclipse, that's the first time we ever hear his actual point of view, right? In the whole story. We've watched Guts go through hell, right? As a kid, at the Battle of Doldry, everything in between. But then all of a sudden, randomly, we get this Griffith POV, right? That duel is one of the true times that we see Ariel's truthful feelings. Like Mazer said, if you go back and watch episode 0 again, when Sylphie and Ariel first meet, Ariel is at the beginning of a throne dispute. She's nowhere near strong enough. She doesn't have enough retainers. She's just not prepared at all to take the throne. And her brother knows that. So when she leaves to go to the Rano Magic Academy with Sylphie in tow, at this point, the only known apprentice of Rudius, Sylphie knows how to cast without incantations. And by the way, I'll say it again, that's such a big thing to do. Roxy is so impacted by Rudy as a child that her incantations are cut because she's just been doing it for so long. She can never get rid of them, but she cut the incantations for her magic spells. And we know that she's a monster with water magic. We know that, right? And Rudy takes after that, even though we see him using that rock cannon all the time because that's like his go-to spell, the same way firebending is to Zuko in Avatar, right? So this episode, I loved Ariel's interaction because we finally get to see her kind of pay off everything. She used Sylphie. Let's be 100% honest. She used Sylphie because Sylphie was this unknown element who could do things that only the greatest of mages could do, which is not use incantations in her magic, which, by the way, if you really tried it, is not that hard to do because Rudy figured it out. Whether or not you want to say he was special, he's the main character or not. But then at the age of like 8, he taught Sylphie how to do it. So it's not really as hard as you think. It's just that the way magic is taught in that world, it's not taught the most efficiently, right?
Yeah.
So with her asking for Rudy to duel Luke, and by the way, Luke is basically Climb from Overlord, except he gets more bitches. That's Luke, right? For her to see that, like Mazer said, obviously, Santo, I missed what you said. Ariel wanted to know one of the few friends that she has in this world is going to be protected by somebody that she knows. Whether or not she goes for the throne, let's be honest, when she goes for the throne, because like Ariel said, when I go for the throne, I either win it or I die. And those 3 people that she rode with, Luke and their 2 attendants, they're going with her. Her Ariel at the Magic Academy is not for accident. Everything Ariel does has a purpose. That's why when I first met Ariel, I never trusted her. Never. Because she's doing everything she does, the way she talks, who she interacts with, her actions all have a purpose. Because when now you think it's like, hey, Rudy, can we get your support to help me take the kingdom? Which, by the way, as of right now in the story and possibly later on in the story, Rudy's going to say no. He finally has a family. Why the hell would Rudy risk that to help some girl he barely knows take the throne of some kingdom he doesn't care about? But Ariel wants to know that one of my true friends in this world is protected. That she doesn't follow me on what could be a suicide attempt. That she's prepared, that she's taken care of, that she has a family that she wants to be. Even when Ariel didn't know Rudius actually existed, Sylphie was talking about him because he's the one who taught me how to teach. He's the one who taught me how to chantless magic. He's the one that taught me to be as good as I am so that I can protect you. And Ariel recognized that. So this chapter showed some of Ariel's true feelings. I'm not going to let Sylphie stay with you if I know you can't protect her. It's that simple. She's like an older sister to Sylphie. Sylphie understands that. That's why when Cliff tells her about the duel Luke and Rudius have, what does Sylphie do? She smiles. And she's like, oh my God. And she realizes how much Ariel actually cares for her. Even though Ariel is this master politician, master manipulator, and she's only 16, 17 years old? Maybe let's just say she's 18. Going up to try to take over a kingdom with 4 people? And that's counting Fitz. I I loved Ariel's interaction in this episode. I loved it because you very rarely get a chance to see how she actually thinks, Santo Mazer. You very rarely do. And ironically, this time was like, I just want my girl to be okay.
I'm
That's all I wanted to
gonna I'm gonna take this same train of thought.
Mhm.
I'm gonna derail it a little bit, and not necessarily derail it. That's not the right word. But we talk about how Ariel doesn't do anything without a purpose.
Mhm.
Do you think that she was unaware of who was at that reception?
Say that one more time.
Do you think that she was unaware? Think about the people who were at that reception. All right, and she's smart. She has she knows how to get information, so she knows things.
I know where you're going. Go ahead.
I'm gonna let you answer this question, Santo, before I go.
The demon lord is at this man's reception. Nana Hoshi, who I'm sure she knows some stuff about, is at this reception. We got people from the Beast Kingdom that are at this reception. We have other people in line for their own thrones at this reception.
That's what I'm talking about, Mazer. That's what I'm talking about.
This reception ain't a bunch of nobodies. She wasn't the only person of royal lineage there. And in fact, you could argue she wasn't even the most prominent royal person there. There was somebody who has the title of king in his name there. You think
Mazer,
she was not aware?
Stop you real quick.
You think she wasn't aware of the
don't stop.
people
Move,
that were there?
No. I want to add one thing before he goes. Think about the people who couldn't make it. Let me stop.
Think about the people who couldn't make it. You mean like Soldat?
Let me stop.
Because there was a couple people, you're right, that they RSVP'd, they couldn't make it. You're right. There was a couple people that didn't. But I want you to let's keep that out. Who was there? And you notice she wasn't necessarily making errors for herself while she was at that party. We barely realized that she was at that party till the duel at the end. You said she doesn't do anything without a reason. I'm saying she was paying very close attention to that party, and for good reason. And that's, again, maybe I'm just overthinking it, but Santo, what do you think?
No, as soon as you mentioned who was at that party, I started going down the list. I'm like, is this the campaign trail? Is this what I'm doing? I'm gaining influence.
I'm so proud of both of you.
I'm shaking hands. I'm taking pictures. Like, the only thing I mean, I completely agree with you on that, Mazer. I think she's seeing who's in the party pretty much. If we're going the political campaign route, who can I call upon when things gets serious? Because I know when I go back into taking this kingdom, it's not going to be friendly. Because she said it herself, it's either I win or I die, pretty much. The only thing I will push back on random is when you said about Rudius, I'm not going to fight any kingdom. I have a family. If Sylvie tells him, my sister's in danger, we gotta go.
Oh, Rudy's is packing up. They rolling out.
Let's go.
My man said say less. You know what?
I'm not saying anything.
Hey, random. Let's go back to why Eris left Rudy the way she did.
I'll never forgive her.
Why? Hold on now. Why did she leave him the way she did? It wasn't the right way, but from your own mouth, I want to hear you say, why did she leave him the way she did?
Because she wanted to stand next to him.
No, that's not the answer, and I know you know that's not the answer.
I know, but I'm trying to make sure that I don't spoil it for everybody else. Mazer, go ahead.
She did it the way she did it so that he would not follow her.
Okay. Because I'll say this right now.
Filthy brings it up, like Santo said, yo, my sister needs help. You think Rudy's not like, hey, fuck packing bags, ride out.
The person that gave him a new purpose in life, that when I was at my lowest, I wanted to take my own life. The one that didn't see any light in the world, that he was in a tent, just sulking and just nothing. When he fell asleep and saw that no one was there, and all that trauma came back, and the one person that took it away in like 3 seconds just by showing her face, you think he's not gonna destroy everybody in that kingdom for that woman? Come on, Rick.
I'm gonna take a line out of Slime here. He will erase the breath from that kingdom.
I'm not saying anything
For that woman. Like I said, I haven't read, I don't know, but
Rudius's personality, he has a chance to pay her back, because let's be honest, he thinks that he's in her debt right now.
facts.
Let's be honest, he feels that he is unworthy of her. He says as much in the bath. In the bath, he says, "I feel unworthy of you." He has a chance to pay her back.
Or just look at it this way. My favorite moment, Cliff looks at him and says, "Because I love that woman, and I'm gonna do everything I can." And Rudius understood, like, that feeling. Hey, Rudius, my sister needs help. Can you help me help her? You think he says no? You think he
says, "Are we taking your car or mine?"
It's like, my staff is packed.
I'm so proud of y'all. Like, I think over time, people will understand how important this episode was, right? And like I said, Santo, even though I know everything, I'm like you. When we get these slow moments, obviously this is not Berserk, where like maybe we'll get one good chapter in an arc where like, oh my God, Guts just laying by the beach and he's letting the water hit his legs and he's chilling, because I don't know, the rest of the 50 chapters he's fighting for his fucking life. But Mushoku Tensei shows you. That's why I said, even in my TikTok about it on the BSS channel, it does its slice of life better than most slice of life, because you have to cherish these moments, because when a turning point happens, you don't know the next time you're gonna get us a chapter like this, where God, him and Sophie are just sitting in the bath enjoying their lives, thinking about who they're gonna invite to their wedding reception. So that's why I think the duel is as important as it is, because I'll say this right now. Go back and watch episode 0 and then come back and watch this, because one of the few people Ariel really cares for besides Luke is Sophie.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that she's like, I need to make sure you could take care of my girl is significant, because let's just say Rudius doesn't decide to duel. Ariel will be like, we're taking Sophie back. I don't give a fuck how you feel about her. Because
he said, now we're fighting.
Because you're not willing to take care of her the way that I have. The way that I've kept her out of all those political things. Because the minute they find out Sophie has green hair she's a woman and she's an elf, Sophie's in terrible danger. And Ariel said, fuck that. It's not even because Ariel recognizes Sophie as a, admittedly, very powerful person. Is because I care about her because she's my sister. She's somebody I can talk to. She's somebody I don't have to be the princess of the Asura kingdom with. And in the beginning, it was easy to manipulate Sophie because she didn't know. Sophie has never been in high-class society, never been somebody who I need to tell her everything. But over time, like, we've seen this story plenty of times in anime where like this lowborn guy becomes friends with a highborn person and they just become one, whether or not they're together romantically or just as siblings or whatever. And that's the one thing the anime just doesn't show you. That's why that duel is so important to me, because even Luke, who gets bitches all the time, who's the one girl he never touched, Santo?
Sylvie.
Who's the one girl he never touched, Mazer?
Sylvie. Oh, and the princess. Yo, let's be real.
And when he said,
true,
when he pulled his sword out and said, fuck that, we fighting for her. Why was that so important? both of you please answer. Why was that fight so important? Even though if Luke and Sophie fought, Sophie wins. But why was that so important?
You're talking about the duel, right?
Yes. Why was that duel so important?
I told you it cements to Ariel, to Luke, to those that are present, that Rudius is not just hot air. Like, he can, even without magic, he can defend her equal to or greater than they can. Because let's be real, Rudius didn't just beat Luke. He beat him in like 2 seconds. Like, it was not a hard fight.
Luke says it's over, and Rudia says it is. Like, it's done.
I'll tell you this right now. In the light novel, Rudius uses his eye where he can see the future for a couple of seconds. He didn't need that eye. He would have beaten Luke any which way he wanted.
Yes.
So I will say this right now. When Luke acknowledges Rudius and says, "You got it now," and then when they go talk, when Cliff lets Sophie know that they fought, that smile is so important because Sophie acknowledges the steps that not just Ariel took, but Luke took to say, "Hey, you're okay. We want you to be happy. And we want you to know that we're here for you no matter what, but you're with the right person."
And it was also the last two to acknowledge Rudius's strength, if we're being completely honest. The two Beast Girls, Sylvie already knew. Cliff already knows how strong Rudius is. The Demon King already knows because, good Lord, that one episode. Like, everybody knows except Luke and what's her name?
Ariel.
Ariel.
I hope you guys remembered that blue-haired girl from the Beta Gotti episode in Core 1. She's so important.
I remember her because
so,
you were
I
talking
mentioned
about
it in the review, right? I mentioned it in the review.
You were talking about how, like, maybe they introduced her in the next episode and then she never shows up.
She never came back, and
she's the ghost of what was.
I was pissed. But you don't know how important she is and how she ties to one of the biggest characters in the series. I'm not going to say that much, but when you just kind of saw her peeking her head out and you saw her for like maybe 10 seconds in the whole episode, she's so important. She's so important.
I want to get your thoughts on this, Random, seeing as you've read the light novels and stuff, so you have a little bit more knowledge into this than we do, obviously. The duel, right? It takes place at the end of the episode. Earlier in the episode, Ariel's having a conversation with her and says to take a year off, and Sylvie says, "No, I'll save that for when we have kids." Does she not read into that as Sylvie not wanting to leave her?
Yes. One thing that Sophie places above Rudy is her devotion to Ariel.
Yeah.
So obviously Ariel protected her, even though obviously when she lands in the mana disaster, she protects Ariel from that giant ass boar, right?
Yep.
Sophie really, like I said, she was manipulated by Ariel in the beginning, but she grows. They love each other, man. Like I said, they're sisters in every true sense of that word without actually being sisters. And while in a best way Sophie was manipulated, Ariel grows to love Sophie. And that's the one thing that she holds above Rudy. And we already know how important Rudy is to Sophie. We know how important she is. And for Sophie to have something above Rudy is significant.
Well, I asked that because Ariel also tells Rudy that if he has to, he needs to stop her from following him. I feel like those two conversations are linked. The one where Sophie's like, "I don't need time off," and the one where Ariel's like, "Hey, don't let her follow me."
Like, so, Amazing, you're right. It's very important because at this point, they're still in school, right?
Yeah.
And she doesn't want Sophie to sacrifice her married life to continue serving her. Because I'll tell you this right now. Anybody who attacks Princess Ariel at school has to deal with the Magic Academy as well, let alone Rudius, let alone Beta Gotti, let alone Cliff, who is also a scion of the Holy Church, right? To attack somebody at school is damn near like somebody attacking the president at the White House with the Secret Service and the Marines and everything America has to offer. So she wants Sylphie to enjoy her married life with Rudy. And obviously, if and when Ariel decides to go back to the Asura Kingdom, whatever happens when that decision is made happens. But right now, all that matters is Ariel graduates from the Magic Academy, and Sylphie enjoys being married to Rudy while she also graduates from the Magic Academy as well. Because Mushoku Tensei, one of the safest places in the world is that Magic Academy. Because, dear God, let's say somebody, whether or not it's her brother from the Asura Kingdom or a rival kingdom attacks Princess Ariel. You want to have everybody on the planet hating you, let alone Rudius, who, even though when he was shopping for that cloak and the shop owner was like, "Oh my God, you're a gray rat." If he said Quagmire, that owner would have known who Rudius is. Rudius is a famous adventurer. He may not be S rank, but like I said in the last episode, Mazer, if you're an A rank adventurer, you're living pretty.
Yeah.
You're living very well. Which should show you how much money Rudy spent on that house for him to be like, maybe I should go back to being an adventurer.
Yeah.
So I'm saying for somebody to even try to sneak Ariel at the academy, you trying to have every mage have a problem with you? Santo, every mage have a problem with you? Mazer, every political organization have a problem with you? What is Zanoba? Mazer, what is he?
He's a crown prince.
Think about that. That's all I'm gonna say.
Now, I want,
let alone Nanahoshi and her ties to Orsted. Let me stop.
Yeah, no, for real. I'm gonna throw this out there. Something I want to talk about after we're done with all this is I want to know if you guys have seen Bartender Glass of God yet.
Oh, we'll definitely talk about it, but
because I'm heavily absorbed.
That's Santo's best anime of the season, by
Let's
the way.
go.
On God, like, yo, like, for real.
Best new
it's
anime.
So good.
It's so beautiful. It's
all right, so let's wrap this up so we can talk about Bartender. Episode 15, Afar. Tell me your maybe some possible implications of that title, and what do you think's maybe gonna happen in the next episode? If you watch the opening, you should get some clues.
Well, the next episode's the wedding reception. Is it not? Or did I misread that?
I'm not gonna say anything. I just want to hear what you guys think.
Santo, go ahead.
I miss some characters. I want to see his sisters. This is what I'm saying. That I have this. I've been telling Random since like middle of season 1 or 2. I just need to know what's going on with Mom. And
he does get a prominent place in the opening.
I just need to know what's going on, and I'm afraid. I'm nervous. Like, is she alive? Is she gonna see her boy get married and have a happy life, or is Rudius gonna go back into the dark days of the tent and find out what's going on? I don't know. I'm just. I need, just give me 2 more episodes of happiness before we get utterly sad and depressed again. I think a sad moment is coming, because this is too happy for me, for Mushoku Tensei, because I've been ruined by the show. I'm curious to see who shows up to the wedding. That's what I'm most excited to see. That's my expectation. My expectation is for characters popping back up at the wedding.
Well, I will add this. I like to say, on my best of my professional opinion, as a guy who read the source material, you have at least 3 episodes of happy times before things possibly might change. I could be wrong. If I'm being honest with you, I'm probably am wrong because
Said it with such confidence, and within 10 seconds, he's like, you know
I
what?
probably no.
I'm
I think
probably
about it.
wrong.
I probably am wrong, but that's why
episode.
Santo eventually, if Ty catches up, I want him up here so that you, Mazer, Lonnie, and Ty can talk about this because y'all not ready for Turning Point 3.
Look,
If I had a
so-
dime for every time you said that, Randall.
Yeah, hey, you could at least get a packet of gum.
Yeah,
I've
So
said that
I
at
just
least 20
looked.
times.
I just looked. This week's episode was wedding reception, so I was going off of the wrong title, and that changes everything for me. So
I'm
I
with-
thought next week was like the wedding, but now knowing that with the title being afar, I'm gonna go out on a limb, having not really put a lot of thought into it because I thought it was a totally different episode. I think that this is going to be a episode that's going to be focusing on what's going on with Paul and Roxy and all them because they all met up. It even goes into like I believe he gets a letter and he said that said that like they all met up and that they were together in the same place. I think we've seen a lot in like the trailer and stuff where we get to see Eris and Rudyard. So this might be the episode where they make their appearance. So I think that this next episode, based on the name Afar, is going to be the not Rudy and Sylphie episode that explores the other characters and sort of what's going on with them.
Well, I in a weird way, I agree with you, Mazer. Just like how Reincarnated as a Slime spent the majority of his episode away from Rimuru.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what this episode is going to be about. Because obviously, while I may know what's happening, I may not know how the anime is going to adapt that.
Yeah.
Right?
With the title like Afar, it makes me think they're going to be looking elsewhere. But that I could be wrong.
We'll see. I can't tell you how excited I am for next Sunday because it's not even just the fact that we have a murderous lineup with obviously Tsukimichi Moonlit Fantasy tomorrow on Monday, right? We have Bartender in the week. We have Reincarnated as Slime on Sunday, Irregular Magic High School on Saturday, and then Mushoku Tensei on Sunday. I'm not watching Kaiju number 8 till it's done because I'm going to binge it instead because I'm not as excited as most people. But that first episode of Go Go Loser Ranger, I know people said it was mid. I was excited, but that's a whole different discussion.
That's one of the ones I still got to start. I have probably 7 or 8 of them that I've started, and none of them are terrible. Like none of them are bad, but I really, as soon as somebody was like, you know, it's like The Boys but Power Rangers, and I was like, okay. And then I just got to start it now. That's all I got to do.
Santo, we talked about it when we preview the spring season anime. This might be the best season of the year for anime with what is coming out. Let alone, I said this is isekai season because all 5 of the heavy duty isekai anime are dropping something in this time period. But I am so excited for how Mushoku Tensei approaches it next. But all right, let's review one more time. Give me your MVP of the episode, and then give me your, I guess, your GOAT. When I say GOAT, the worst person in each episode, and then we can talk about everything else before we're done. We've been going for damn near almost 2 hours. So Mazer, let me get your MVP of the episode again.
We've been going almost 2 hours, but I feel like this episode deserves every second of it.
Absolutely.
Like,
we were talking about future trunks for 30 minutes.
This episode was beautiful. Again, my MVP was Ariel. And the more I sit here and think about it and let the cogs in my brain turn, the worse it gets. Like the more in my head, like she deserves it. Because like I said, during the party, we think of everybody who was there. And she was not like doing much of anything. But she was reading the room, I promise you that. And then you get to the duel at the end and everything that implicates. Like, Ariel to me was the MVP of the episode. And it's not like it was like, she was the only important person in the episode. Like, I could have went a lot of directions to select the MVP. The GOAT of the episode, I mean, there really isn't one. But I'm going to go with the Beast Princesses. And it's just because they didn't really do much. They was just kind of there. I could say the same thing for like, I mean, really any of the other like classmates that showed up that didn't really say much. And it's not that their actions won't have further implications later on. I just can't see what they're going to be now. So that's why I'm like, like they were physically present. That's about it. And so I say that like they're not actually bad. It's just who didn't really deliver anything today.
Santo?
Honorable mention, outside looking in, Demon King for getting the party started.
Oh, shout out to him, bro. If he didn't do it, Soldat would have done it, but Soldat couldn't make it. So shout out to him.
But like I said, Cliff, like I love when a side character that you really don't think about much in the whole story as a complete picture. Like he's just a little speck in the portrait of the story. Mm-hmm. He delivers lines that just make you think. Like that moment that he shared with Rudius, hey, and that look, like I love her, and I'm doing everything I can to, and no, I will lift this curse. Like that to me grabbed me instantly. I was like, I'm here. Like whatever you need help with, like let me know, because I understand. I understand what it is to love someone, and that you will do anything in your power. Like pretty much what he has with Sylvie. Like he related, like it touched something in him. Like he understands, like the way he feels about Lise is the way I feel about Sylvie right now. So that to me was my MVP of the episode. Everybody that didn't have a line, pretty much. Like Mazer said it perfectly. It's not that they're not important to the story. It's just that they were just pretty much just there. Everybody else just had too much impact on the episode, and everybody else gets overlooked, personally.
Well, I'll say this. Obviously, my MVP of the episode is Sophie, right? Because while Sophie's impact may be understood later on, the perfect example of Sophie is when Rudius falters to start the speech, and she just grabs his hand and she's like, go for it. Sophie is always the person that pushes him forward, right? Whether or not it was early when she was like learning under him, she is Rudius's first official apprentice, waiting for Ghislaine or Eris enter the picture. Sophie, I just want Sophie to be happy at all times. And even though she lost her parents in the Mana disaster, right? And I'll tell you this right now, both her parents are dead. They're dead as fuck. And she never sees them again, right? And for her to be lucky enough to land with Ariel, even though I think because of what she learned from Rudy, she would have made it a lot longer than probably most people from the Mana disaster. She was lucky enough to find Ariel and find another family who really cared about her enough to, when she finally was ready to leave that family had to make sure that she was protected, right? She was taken care of. And Sophie, like Mazer said at the start of the episode, when we finally started talking about Mushoku Tensei, her character growth from being just a scared little kid who couldn't do anything except watch the bullies throw mud at her, to her being able to figure out that Elena is her grandmother, to have these important conversations, to legitimately have Rudius in the palm of her hand. Like you said, if Sylvie was like, we're following Ariel to Asura, Rudy's like, bet. Let me grab my staff and my cloak, and we going out there, right?
Not my new cloak. I'm bringing my warfighter cloak. All right.
So
y'all are about to get Quagmire. Y'all ain't getting Gray Rat.
Sophie is just she's just great, and she's one of those people. Like, there are few people on the planet, Santo and Mazer, that we watched all this anime that should be protected at all costs. In my opinion, Sophie's one of those people, right? She's just a great person through and through, right? And my goat of the episode, ironically, is somebody we haven't seen since she cut her hair off, is Eris. Until we see her in the anime, which I at this point I believe she's just going to get her own OVA. She's the goat of the episode.
Well,
and when
we
I say
can't
she's
call her
goat,
the goat if she ain't there.
He's not there.
the only reason she's not there, and I'm cheating because I know, because at the end of every chapter,
you're cheating.
She gets an epilogue chapter where we get to see what she's doing. But the only reason I'm saying that is because they did where we saw the blue-haired girl in the first core. And spoilers, I guess, she is a link to Eris.
Yeah.
And the problem is, I'm worried that when we get her OVA, they're not going to give it the justice it deserves. Because at the end of every chapter of Mushoku Tensei, especially Volume 11, Volume 12, we see what she's doing. And that's why she gets her own spin-off manga, where we get to see what she's doing. Because what she's, mind you, her goal is to become strong enough to fight the guy that killed her man at the end of season 1. That is her goal. And there's a reason why there's a reason why she left, even though she knew that Rudy would talk her out of it. There's a reason why she cut her hair off. The reason why she changed herself wholeheartedly for the man that she loves. And that's why she's the GOAT. And that's why I'm worried that if they give her a 30-minute OVA, it's not going to work. If we're being honest, she might low-key need to get an hour OVA, maybe her own little spin-off movie, because her growth, while she's not a part of the story proper, is so important, Santo. It's like that image when we see Vegeta turn Super Saiyan when he kills Android 19. Why is that flashback when he's defending his spaceship from the rocks? And then we see him basically, like, I know Abridge kind of ruined it because he basically cries trying to become a Super Saiyan, but Abridge hit it right. He was so frustrated watching Goku and this new motherfucker pull up out of nowhere and kill Frieza, who at that point was the end-all be-all, the one above all, and
the one that made him cry.
The one that made him cry and killed him.
I want it.
When this new person pulls up and cuts him into shish kebab with his sword and burns it and uses that burning slash to kill him, why Future Trunks was such a problem to Vegeta? Eris, with us not seeing anything, which I understand why they're not doing it, because it's such an important story, and I'm worried that 30 minutes. Oh, I'll never.
They're gonna write her out of the shore. The whole story.
That's why I'm worried that if you give her a 30-minute OVA, it's not going to be able to cover what she's actually doing right now. And eventually in season 3, when we get everything, and maybe in season 3 we'll meet Odious, and we'll get to see everything. And Santo, I'm telling you, but actually, you know what? Let me keep it stacked. Ty, if you're watching this, Lonnie, if you're watching this, anybody who's watching Mushoku Tensei, if you're watching this, you have a way to contact me. You're gonna call me and be like, "What the hell? Oh my God, are you serious? Is this what this means? Is this what that meant? Is this why this character is so important? Is that why you talk about Odious on April 14th, 2024, when season 3 is gonna pop up, maybe 2026?" And you're like, and I'm like, yes, because it's that important.
The hell you mean 2026?
Because it usually takes about 2 years to make an episode and make a season. I'm just going by.
I don't like that.
I agree with you. Unless Studio Bind is going to commit. Remember, they're finally starting to make
Solo Leveling. We got coming back in the fall. All right.
But
I don't want to hear their excuses.
No, Mason. Let's keep it a stack. They were already working on season 2 of Solo Leveling when season 1 was coming out.
Well, they better be working on season
2 of Eminence and Shadow when season 1 was coming out.
They better be working on season 3 right now.
I'm right there with you because I want to see season 3. And Sancho, what have I said about the first episode of season 2 of Mushoku Tensei? What did I say about for the first 4 episodes?
I can't remember what you said to
They
me.
should have been a movie. The same way Mugen Train enhanced Demon Slayer, the Depressed Adventures arc should have done that for Mushoku Tensei, but they didn't want to commit to making a movie, and Mushoku Tensei is not where it should be, but it doesn't matter. When you meet Odious, Santo, Mazer, Ty, Lonnie, J-Rob, Riddell, if he decides to watch it, you are all going to call me and be like, what the hell? Are you serious? I can't believe this what this means. I can't believe this what this interaction meant. I can't believe this. I can't believe that about that character. You're gonna call me and you're gonna be shocked. Because I'm like, remember when I told you this was important and that was important and this was important? And I told you that nothing Mushoku Tensei does is without purpose. That's when you're gonna call me and I'll be like, I fucking told you so. But to get it all, my MVP of the episode is Sophie. My GOAT of the episode is Eris, because I'm surprised that they've done this, they've waited this long without pulling the trigger to at least show us what she's doing. But I'm also at the same time impressed because when Eris comes back, she has so much work to do. Santo, what did Eris do to Rudy? What did she do to him? She ruined him for years. Mazer, for years.
She gave him ED.
She gave him ED.
Look, I've been depressed in my day. I've never been that depressed. Like that's.
Dude, I cried.
I've cried right when Rudy cried.
I've cried twice. When she left and when Sylvie came back. I cried twice. Oh.
This show be like that.
And
like it gets to the core of you.
That's
like,
why I'm
anybody who's watching this that haven't watched it, like.
And you know why it made me feel that way? Because he didn't want to. He's like, you know what? Like the growth of Rudius at that point, he would have been all over her if it was in the beginning of the season. He said, you know what? No, I made you a promise. I'm gonna keep it. And then she whispered that thing in his ear, and he was like, it was done. Woke up the next morning, she's gone. Like
just
the
her
man
hair on the floor.
Left him. Just left him.
I'll never forgive him.
Broken.
I'll never forgive him. You find me another story that uses, I don't know, erectile dysfunction. Find me a series in media that uses erectile dysfunction as a plot device the way this series does.
There ain't one. At least not that I know of.
Well,
but you want to talk? You want to talk about? Hold up. You want to talk about upcoming stuff that is going to make people call you? For anybody who knows me, because I've been preaching it with Demon Slayer. All right, it's not going to be in the Hashira training arc, but in probably the first movie of the Infinite Castle trilogy, when Zenitsu gets his time in the sun. If you have not read the manga, you don't know what I'm talking about, and that's fine.
I hope they do it.
But right. I've been saying, if
that
you
should
don't
be the
know,
majority of the first movie, by the
way. When that happens, people are going to be reaching out to me, and I'm going to be like, I know. I've been saying it. Like, iconic. It's going to, if they do it right, it will be there in the catacombs of the anime history, along with that first Super Saiyan transformation, along with Bertolt and them like admitting that they're the Titans and then trying to kidnap Eren. Like, it's going to be one of those times from a series that when people talk about the series, it's the scene that comes to mind. And I'm, man, whew, it's going to be big. It's going to be huge.
You talk about how Attack on Titan just kind of throws those two big plot devices out in the back of a manga panel. Yeah, I'm the Armored Titan. He's the Colossal Titan. And I remember reading, I was like, what? Wait, what? What?
Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z.
Time in the next chapter.
And it was in the anime that because I didn't read Attack on Titan until after I finished the anime. In the anime, when he was just talking to Eren and he just let that out slowly, I had to like pause it, like what just happened? Like so lackadaisical. Yeah, we came and we destroyed the wall, and well, I'm like, wait, hold up, like, dude, are you okay? Like, what are you talking about?
Look,
I was shook. I was shook.
Having not, I still to this day have not read Attack on Titan. But for the other people that did not watch or didn't read it like me, when you get to season 4, the original season 4, episode 4, after credit scene, changed everything. Changed everything. I'd been watching it weekly up to that point. Did not know what was going on. I thought I knew. And then that end credit scene happened. I didn't know shit about fuck. All right. Like it changed the entirety of everything. After which, one of the scenes that Random has mentioned as the top 5 fight scenes in anime takes place. And listen, when you use another man's jaw to break something open, like that's disrespectful as hell. Like, what is it? CJ, it's like CJ to Goat, or I'm blanking on him right now. He has a YouTube channel also, but he does a lot of reactions to like epic anime moments, and like he's got a series about like Black Air Force energy and
oh,
animes.
CJ the champ. CJ the champ.
CJ the champ. Yeah, there it is. Yeah. I'm like, yo, you want to talk about
goated, by the way,
disrespectful scenes in anime history? When you use another man's mouth to break open the shell to eat you. Damn. The disrespect to the it's not the bite titan. My brain's all over the place.
Jaw
titan, the jaw titan. Yeah, the disrespect to him, like, you got to quit after that. Like, you can't keep being a titan. You got to just pass that on.
Look, it's been, I still think this spring season, unless we get another Frieren out of something, which so far I've seen, I'm not in, obviously that's not going to happen. Maybe ReZero with season 3, because guess who should come back in season 3? Santo. Guess who comes back in season 3, or who should come back in season 3? Rem should come back. And I'm never Subaru, look at my eyes. I'll never fucking forgive you, because guess what? When you were going nuts and people thought you were crazy, who was standing by your side when nobody else was? Fucking Rem. And you still chose Sylvia, and she didn't care about you, bro. She thought you were nuts. But Rem said, I don't care. Let's run away. Let's have a family. Fuck my twin sister. Rem was there, and you fucking chose. Let me stop, because I'm getting pissed.
Who got hoed more, Rudius or Rem?
If we're keeping a stack, low-key Rem did.
No.
Low-key Rem was like, I know this dude's kind of nuts, but I love him. Yeah, hold on.
Here, you want to talk about people getting hoed in animes? Let's take an opportunity to give a shout out to Shadow Garden having to fight Shadow as John Smith. That was wild. Everybody except Delta. Delta was like, "What's up, boss?" And he was just like, fuck. I need you to go on this special errand for me right quick."
Well, Delta's cracked because she's the only person who can see through any of his disguises.
Well, she could smell him.
Yeah.
She just walked up. She's like, "Hey, boss." And he's like,
awesome. She's so awesome.
She just climbs up on his shoulders while he's walking around. And she's like, "What are we doing today? Be hunting some people?" And he's like, "Nah, I need you to go do this."
Well, it's weird how Shadow is especially kind to her compared to everybody else.
Well, I think he adapts to their personalities.
The thing is, though, from even the manga, he's so kind to Delta of everybody. He really pampers her compared to everybody else.
Let's be real. She's simpler than the rest of them.
That is true.
That's what I'm saying. He adapts to their personalities. Because who is it? Is it Beta that has the big fake jelly boobs?
No, that's Epsilon.
Mm-hmm. At the same time, he compliments her on her efforts.
He does respect how adept she is with the slime. She does.
Yeah,
he does really.
He adapts to each of the shadows. He's not the same Shadow with all of them on a one-on-one basis. Now, when he's
I'm
talking
still
all
wondering.
of the group, it's one thing.
I'm still wondering when his sister will find out that he's Shadow.
Never.
I legitimately think he probably should just told her that he's Shadow a long time ago.
Nah.
She would have accepted it. She would have accepted it.
What's the princess's name with the red hair? I think she's gonna find out before anybody else.
I don't want her to find out before his sister does.
I think that she finds out before her sister, aka the ex that never was, with their fake ass relationship.
She's just horrible.
I think that she finds out before everybody.
She just makes horrible choices.
Now, I will say this: I think that his sister's alter ego, who's like actually like the demon,
Aurora.
Yeah, Aurora. I think
the Calamity. Yeah.
I think that she finds out and she knows who.
Oh, she knows. She knows from jump who he is.
Well, when does Rose find out?
I don't think Rose is ever going to find out.
Because Rose is in Shadow Garden. If anybody is privileged to that information, it should be her.
Okay, she's like, if we're unless we, because we don't know if they've recruited anybody else after Rose. Rose is the last person to be recruited into Shadow Garden.
That don't matter. And don't they have a intro to Shadow Garden 101?
Yeah, but after that, she becomes the queen of her kingdom, so she doesn't have time to really be invested in the Shadow Garden the way she probably
went through the introductions. She got a number.
She did, but Shadow at that point, we don't know what the hell he was doing. He wasn't there. He was doing his own thing.
She doesn't know that Sid Cogno is Shadow?
No, she does not.
Like I know she didn't. I'm saying, how the fuck does she not know?
To be honest,
that don't make no sense at all.
I think there's only like maybe 10.
They had to intentionally like not tell her.
I'll say this: there's probably only like actually, you know what? That's a lie. There's probably like 20 people in the entirety of Shadow Garden who know who Sid actually is. Obviously, the 7 Shadows, the people who were in Gammas. Remember when he pulled up to Mitsugoshi, right? And those like 10 ladies who know, and then there's the girl who's like a fanatic that we meet in season 2.
Yep.
And that's probably it. Who knows that he's actually Shadow?
Which is
so maybe like 20 to 25 people who know in the entirety.
He's getting into like some Illuminati level stuff.
Yeah, I mean
Scientology.
We need to have a whole conversation.
In the inner circle.
We need to have a whole conversation about how strong Shadow actually is. Because if we're talking power scaling, he walked on the rings of Jupiter and murdered people, Santo. And
wait, is Santo not seeing him in Shadow?
Oh my god! Oh my god!
The disappointment in you,
my dude.
Riddell and J-Rob think it's a horrible show, but like, I think it's a parody isekai. That's the point of the show.
It is the point of the show.
It sounds like something Riddell would not watch because it's a parody.
Well, it's like people that don't like Mashal because it's a parody. It's supposed to be funny.
Mm-hmm.
And the people are like, well, it's a ripoff. Yeah.
Shadow is just Isekai Saitama. That's all he is.
And Saitama is making fun of Superman.
So
like that's why Saitama was created, was to make fun of Superman.
So that's why I sit there and I wonder. And by the way, when that movie comes, I think the Shadow Garden movie comes out late in the year, and Beta is finally getting her chance to. I know she's got a lot of love in the anime, but this might be the last time we see Beta shine for a long time in the story.
Oh,
because she goes in the, well, she doesn't go with him in the anime, but in the manga and light novel, she goes with him too. Because remember, he isekais back to his world, his Earth, and Beta goes with him. And he doesn't
isekai. He like somehow like teleports.
Yeah, but in the
it's not like he dies.
I'm just going off the manga. He goes back to the world and Beta's with him. So in the anime, he goes by himself. So I'm like, how are you gonna handle the parts about Beta not being there with him? Because she doesn't really have a crucial role, but she's kind of hilarious in that. And also one of the things she does when she goes back with Shadow, she does something very significant to the story when they go back to the Shadow, the world that they're
Shadow Garden
isekai into. Yeah.
So
it's just like, if Beta's not there, who does a significant thing before they go back to Shadow Garden?
Okay.
So it's going to be very interesting. I'm excited to see that movie. Obviously, the Overlord movie. But Santo, Mazer, let's talk about your guys' favorite anime, possibly of the spring season, Bartender. I'm waiting till it's done so I can binge it, but go ahead and cook. Go ahead and cook.
Bartender got no business being as good as it is.
Facts.
Like, this is supposed to be a show about a bartender. What? Like, phenomenal. Phenomenal. The way they build, and like, he's not even in the show for the first few minutes. But the way they're building, like, we need to test these bartenders. Oh, you didn't ask this. You couldn't tell. Why are you giving me this drink? Fuck out of here. Oh, your drink mixed strong. Fuck out of here. Like, all this stuff. Like, they're building this premise for this like unreachable person, and then you find out the dude from the hotel, the owner, he's actually the one setting the rules, which there aren't any, because quote unquote, find the guy who can make the glass of God. That's vague. What if it's a Miller Lite guy? What if it's a Miller Lite guy? Like, how are you supposed to like find that? And so then you go and you find it. Well, you meet the dude, and he can't remember anything. This dude has like the worst memory in the world. And then they find him at the bar, and all of a sudden, he's just so good. And all of this, I'm saying it like I'm hating on it, but I'm not. It was put together masterfully. Like, it doesn't make sense to me that it's as good as it is. Like, but it's incredible. It's incredible. I have literally nothing negative to say about the show. And I want to know how much money they put into the show, because if you noticed,
beautiful,
they're using real life name brands on everything. It's actually Jim Beam, Lefroy, Campari, Hendrick's Gin. Like, they're using real life brands. And I'm like, in anime, in my history, they got to make up fake brands that are kind of close for like all this stuff. But like, they're using the legit brands. So I'm like, okay, like incredible. And then you get to episode 2, where you get some insight into what this glass of God is from the old timer that runs the hotel. And you get some insight basically into like what he's looking for, and just beautiful, absolutely beautifully done. When I watched the 2 episodes back to back and I saw there wasn't an episode 3, I was very upset. Incredible. Santo, I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
No, you're completely fine. We did our what anime are you most excited to see, and I selected Bartender. This is an anime, and somebody like I've been watching like bartenders react to it, all of them. Like, I haven't seen one negative review of it. They said it is accurate. Like, everything that they're talking about, it's like this. It's like the writer from it loves the art of bartending, like to the point that the main character says a line: there are 2 occupations that you should not lie. One is your pharmacist and one is your bartender. Because
both of them are writing that line between medication and poison.
Facts. Like
it reminds me of Food Wars a little bit, in the sense of like how detailed they get into these drinks. Remind me of the cooking that they're doing in Food Wars.
It's literally Food Wars with drinks, with
and
no fan service. But it we've all been to the bar. We've all had a great drink, and that feeling, like, this anime gives you that. When you sip a drink that is properly made for the occasion, for how you're feeling, for your mental state, everything that you need, and your bartender really like listens to you and concocts a drink just for you, that feeling is literally what this anime is. Animation is beautiful. Music is beautiful. Just the attention to detail. Like, when they first get in episode 1, when they first get to Eden Hall, it's just a hole in the wall type thing that the 2 girls were like, we've passed this place so many times that we haven't even paid attention, and they open it. and they show the wood grain on the ground. They show the felt on the stools, like him crushing ice in a specific way that it fits perfectly into a glass. Like all of that, like it is amazing. It is great. And people's and the way I would describe it, at least with the previous iteration of Bartender, it's like a drink. When you get a bottle of Hennessy or whatnot, you're not chugging it. No, it's an anime that you can just take 1 or 2 episodes at a time and come back to, and it's still amazing. Like this new Glass of God, I think it's gonna be up there for anime of the year, just in terms of animation, everything, like source materials, research, the feeling. Like I'm big on that. Like, and with stories with anime, like
how does it make you
feel? And literally, it reminds me of being 21 and learning bar culture. Like it brought me back. It gave me that nostalgia. And now that I'm in my 30s, I literally understand what it is to pour a scotch into a glass. How much do you handle this much alcohol? Should I water it down? It's okay to water down alcohol. Like all of that, they cover and they describe it, and they make it so beautiful. Like the sound of ice hitting the glass, him spinning it with the stirring spoon. Like it's great. It's fantastic.
When he makes the what is it?
The highball.
The highball. I was just salivating at the mouth to go and get one. Yes. Knowing that it wouldn't be the same.
And how she was so shocked when she said, this is the drink for me. Like how? Like she
was offended at first.
Yeah. And then she drank it and she understood, like, wow, like he really like opened her mind to everything.
He made her that Yukihira style highball.
Well, I will say this: every time anime just has this kind of show that like makes no sense and gives us a look into maybe Japanese culture, obviously, because like for instance, I love slice of life in anime because it's such a different way to tell a love story. Like most Japanese ones, I'm like, God, just fucking tell her that you love her. Just tell her. But when a good slice of life romance story does it right, like for instance, Origairu, right? I was like, my first love story came in like that instance until he tells Yukino that he loves her. And technically in the anime, he never tells her, she tells him, right? At the end of the story. That lead up to that is so good. And this, for instance, when I first heard of Bartender, it reminded me of Dagon Dagashi, where you learn about Japanese candy culture. And that whole story is basically the main character is a guy who wants to be a mangaka, but he lives in the countryside and his dad owns a candy store. So it's in a small town. And of course, he meets this girl who's trying to get his dad to join her big mainstream candy company, right? And then through each episode, you learn about different Japanese candy. And it's incredible that while you're learning about Japanese candy, they find a way to stick a comedy and then throw some romance in it to obviously make it a romantic comedy into it. And the one thing I always remember about the show, there's this giant ass candy that they feed to kids. It's huge. It's like hard cotton candy that they feed to kids. When I'm telling you, I don't think I can obviously put the length of it. It's like 2-3 feet long, and they feed to kids. And at the end of each episode of the first season, they explain a candy to you in various details so you can understand it. But if you guys have a chance, go watch it. It's awesome. And you get this look into how Korean or Japanese candy culture works. And I'm like, low key, I want to try one just to have one. And I'm not even a big sweets guy, but for them to be able to tell a functional story around candy, admittedly, is incredible. And anime always finds a way to do this. They always do. Whether or not it's obviously Dagon Dagashi or what's the one that they made in the pandemic to help people lose weight? um oh my god, I can't remember it, but there's basically this girl, she's kind of
That's
overweight.
crazy.
Yeah, and they make one, and at the end of each episode, they tell you different exercises to do. They're not really that hard, but you can do them at home. And I'm like, they continually make stuff like this, which is fun. And and you're watching a fun episode. And admittedly, it's just like a girl learning how to go. Basically, the whole point of it is like this girl's she thinks she's kind of fat and she wants to go back to the gym. And then shenanigans into like every anime, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of every episode, they tell you different exercises you can do at home during the pandemic to lose weight. And it's hilarious. And it's like one of those where like, how does anime continue to tell stories like this where I can't see a regular cartoon series in America doing something like this? Because I don't think people would buy it. But if you show them an anime of it, it would work.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just like, that's why I'm so interested in Bartender. But it's one of those where I'm like, I'm gonna get mad if I can't binge it. Because I binged Daga and Dagashi. I binged the one about the girl learning how to lose weight, right?
I feel that because I was upset that there were 2 episodes.
I binged Teasing Master Takagi-san, which is basically a guy, a middle school kid, a middle school boy, trying to get back at this girl who teases him all the time. And we know it. We're old. So we know that girl likes him because if you go by middle school, when that girl
that's like Masamune-kun's Revenge.
And it's basically like, we know it now. God, when your little cousin or your little nephew tells you, God, this girl is really mean to me. Most of the time we know, oh, she's mean to you because she likes you.
She likes you.
Yep.
And in the story, in Teasing Master Takagi-san, that's what it is. This girl is just smarter than the kid. And she keeps throwing out these flags that he's just not, because he's in middle school, he's not savvy enough to understand that, oh my God, this girl likes him. And then when it finally happens, which ironically happens at the end of in a movie that they make to seal the story, where it's not even like they never say each other like, hey, I like you. She's just like, hey, he basically tells her, I want to do this with you forever. And she's like, I would love to do this with you forever. And that's it. And that's all you get.
Oh, well, that's like at the end of Full Metal Alchemist when he's like, equivalent exchange. And she's like, what? And he's like, I'll give you some of me if you give me some of you back. Like, it was like so awkward. But at the same time, like, you get what he's trying to do. And it was almost more beautiful because it was awkward. Because it also like humanized him.
Finds this way of without outward telling you. Because obviously those moments are fun. Like, for instance, when in Toradora, when Takagi finally realizes her feelings for I always forget his name. But when she finally realizes her feelings for him during Christmas. But you want to know how to describe Toradora in one kind of instance? When they graduate and he runs back to the classroom because he sees her hair. And then he opens the locker and he sees her in the thing. And he immediately tells her, he's like, hey, I love you. And then she gets surprised and she gets embarrassed and she blushes. And then she headbutts him. And that's like, and after that, she basically embraces him, and the end of the story. That's Toradora.
That was like her way of saying it back.
And that's Toradora in instance. Anime always finds its way of doing it. And Bartender is another way, because we know how American bar culture works. But now we see the Japanese bar culture and how it's like,
it's a therapist. It's
like he's a therapist.
It's attention to detail. And the attention to detail.
And obviously, we know about the hikimoris, which is basically the weebs, the people who shut themselves off from the world, which is a legitimate problem in Japan. And to kind of see how a therapist would approach somebody who's approaching that lifestyle, or who's trying to help a Japanese couple, because I'm trying to find the source material so I can read that. So I'm like, how would he approach a Japanese couple having problems with their marriage, or a Japanese person having problems with their job, or things like that, because we know how all that is different from America. I want to see those instances.
Well, you got to get into episode 2 then, if you haven't seen it.
I want to binge it. I want to binge it. That's why I'm not watching.
You mentioned work. He dives into that in episode 2, and it's fantastic how he does it. Like, he sees through the bullshit in a moment, and it's fantastic. You were talking about some of these other ones, like It reminded me a lot of like Masamune Kun's Revenge. You got some of
Which
these
all
other like
happened because
slice
of
of life.
misunderstanding.
Yep.
Because the girl's friend,
She actually loved him. And
yeah, she loved him, but the girl's friend was the one that ruined him. So that's why he went to go lose weight and become the stud to get revenge on her.
Well, and then she gets so emotionally scarred from it that she gorges herself to eat. Like if you look at like the mental health aspect of that show, she's trying to get fat. Like she's like punishing herself by eating because of her guilt for what she did, however many years prior. Like that's like, again, like you throw real humanity, like real life stuff in there like that. Like it's insane. It's beautiful. The Duke of Death and His Maid, which actually is not great animation. It's all CGI and it doesn't look great, but the story's beautiful. Like the story is exceptional. And then you have like My Love Story with Yamato was fantastic. Horimi is fantastic. Like there's so many good slice of lifes out there.
And Mazer, you know how I feel about Horimiya, man. Horimiya is my favorite slice of life of all time because you want to talk about a guy. Because in a lot of ways, I was Izumi.
Okay.
From Horimiya because moving to a new place for high school, I was still learning how to speak English. And then meeting my Hori was ironically my two boys over here in California, the part of the wolf pack as we call each other because of The Hangover. Shout out to that movie. But if I didn't have them, I wouldn't be who I am today. And obviously Izumi wouldn't be who he is without Hori.
Yep.
And it's like there's so many places like this. Like one, I don't know if you guys have heard of it, Bottom Tier Tomozaki-kun. And that's the one I in my first anime year in review video, I spent a lot of time on that because you want to talk about a love story that's done very well. And ironically, they kind of copy High School Girls flow by using video games, but that introspective about him trying to become a better person socially, right? And the fact that the two main people, the heroine and the hero, they're never going to get together. But the heroine does all she can. Like, look, obviously, I love playing video games with you, but you're not somebody I can be with socially. And when you look at it, the overall goal of that show is inherently selfish on the heroine's side, but also it helps him become a better person socially, so that he's not just this guy who plays video games all the time and doesn't truly utilize his life. High Score Girl. When you want to talk about the main heroine, never says a single word in the show. High Score Girl on Netflix. She never says a single word, but she's one of the most expressive, one of the most understood heroines I've ever come across. And all she does is just beat the guy up the whole time. That's all she does.
Communicate. She doesn't talk hardly at all.
She doesn't talk. And I'll say this: Komi Can't Communicate has the strongest episode, I would say, in slice of life history. Listen to me, Santo. Listen to me.
I'll let you go.
Because I have that moment when they talk to each other on the chalkboard. It's so powerful. And I'm willing to throw that up against anybody.
Okay. I will raise you Your Lie in April. Your Lie in April, him in the piano recital, and he has it in his mind, her playing violin, and she passes.
That's the end. That's the end of the season. That's not the opening.
Yeah, we're saying episode 1.
You're saying episode 1. My bad. I thought you were saying greatest moment. Oh,
you're right. Because
no, we're talking episode 1, like hardest hitting, like intro to a slice of life.
Okay.
Now I agree with you because the whole time I thought she was like, God, they're gonna see each other at least one more time. Nope. But when you realize that she dies and he's never gonna talk to her or see her again.
Oh, and then he reads the letter at the end, and finally you understand what it means when the title is Your Lie in April. Like, that's my favorite.
By the way, I feel bad for his friend because he loved her also. Yeah. Even though they were fake, he loved her also, and I was like, damn.
Yeah, to me, that's the greatest slice of life. But my bad. I misinterpreted.
My greatest slice of life, just in general, I'm staying with Initial D. And that's OG classic slice of life. I grew up in the car scene, and so to have an anime about it, like, and then to have MF Ghost come out years and years and years later with the same energy, The nostalgia, like they modernized it but kept it OG.
I don't care.
MF
We didn't talk
Ghost,
about MF Ghost enough on the
MF
podcast.
Ghost was a love letter to the fandom, and I 100% like
To
MF
this
Ghost top
to
tier.
this day, I stand on it, and no matter, even if I'm wrong, I'll be loud wrong. Initial D has the greatest anime soundtrack
Facts,
of all
facts.
time.
That's I don't
I'll
agree
stand
with
on
you.
business with
We
anybody
are
who disagrees.
I don't agree with you, but I understand
no,
where you're coming from. I don't
no, I
agree with you,
don't.
but I
But
understand where you're coming
Then
from.
you're just wrong.
Yeah,
I don't
and you're
agree with
allowed to
you.
be wrong. Somebody's got to be. We can't all be
Initi-
right all the time.
And there is not one bad song. There is not one bad beat in Initial D.
Ironically, is he frozen?
Yeah, he's frozen.
Oh my god! Ironically, this is maybe because I'm kind of biased because I wanted this show to be good. I think Yasuke on Netflix has maybe the greatest soundtrack I've ever heard,
Really?
from top to bottom. That show, that soundtrack deserved a better anime, but it was
I'm
screwed.
I'm with you. I'm standing on Initial D, but like Yasuke was good. The
Yasuke
soundtrack
There's a
was
reason why, if you watch the video I made on it, I spent so much time on it. From jump, that soundtrack was hitting. But what
let
can
me
you do?
let me ask you this. We're talking about Slice of Lives. Did you from last season watch any of the Slice of Lives? Like for instance, A Sign of Affection.
I watched Hokkaido Girls, was super adorable.
Hokkaido Gals. I actually ended up reading that. Like I read well beyond season 1. And it's good. I think the fan service and stuff like that, like definitely like serves its purpose. But like when you talk about shows like Food Wars, I think Food Wars, because there was a variety of things going on and stuff, it was a little bit better executed versus Hokkaido Gals, which was a great show, but like there wasn't enough variety to kind of take away from the fan service to where it wasn't like as prominent. But I loved Hokkaido Gals. I thought, like I said, I liked it enough that I turned around and started reading it. Hokkaido Gals was good, but A Sign of Affection was genuinely like impressive. Like I wasn't ready for it when it came out, and then I watched it and I said, "Oh, so we're getting in the feels." Got it.
If I'm being honest, I ended up watching The Dangers in My Heart because
Dangers
I read
in My Heart.
The Dangers in My Heart. That's the one that kind of took over, like the social media space. Like at one point,
it was another Oshinoko, basically. Like it took over social media.
It took over, and it was one of those where, like, ironically, at one point, it was like the most watched anime of the season, and I was like, "This is impressive." Even though I think I think it messes up his premise, because when you first meet Kataro, he's like a goth kind of, if you want to be 100% honest, kind of school shooter type boy.
Oh, 100%.
And then they don't keep pushing that narrative, because I want to see what you do with this. And they eventually kind of went down the traditional romantic path, even though I think it would have been nice for him to kind of lose that mindset, and eventually Yamada just kind of brings him, like turns him, instead of kind of just defaulting in the traditional path. But it's still a very good story. Like in the manga, in season 2, in the best way, when they cement their relationship, because they're still like middle schoolers, right? But when they cement their relationship, it's so well done in the manga. So I'm like, I can only imagine how it's done in the anime when they get to it. So,
Ice Sky and His Cool Female Colleagues, another one.
Very good, very underrated.
Well, and this is what I'm afraid of. It was wildly underrated. I think Bartender is going to be that this season because of the lineup that's in front of us. I think people are going to sleep on it, and it deserves, for these first 2 episodes, it should be in a top 5. When you go on Crunchyroll and see the weekly ratings, it should be in the top 5.
Ironically, another one, even though it's more of an action series, it's Firefighter Daigo, Rescue in Orange. That's another one I liked, which was basically about just like firefighting in Japan. And I was like, why do I keep watching these? And that's why. Because give me all these things we kind of know in America, but then you see how another culture would tackle these topics. That's why I watch Slice of Life as much as I do. That's why I like Orange, because the main character, it's basically like all the side characters are trying to stop the main character from killing himself. And as much as the main heroine keeps trying, he just keeps rejecting her. And I'm like, Dick, you couldn't tell a story like this in America, because after the first rejection, people would be like, why is he not picking her? And I love stories like that, whether or not it's obviously Toradora, where I still can't believe Takagi leaves, or the Palm Top Tiger, she leaves at the end of the season to go fix her family problems. And to this day, I still get mad because I'll watch it maybe once every couple of months. I'm like, you left? You left? Where I was like, just take him with you. He would have helped you. But when you read the source material, she had to fix it by herself, because she's like, I need to be able to fix this by myself, so that when I bring him to meet my family, he's not fixing things that I should have taken care of. And I'm like, I don't like it, but I understand.
Well, yeah, it's just, well, like with Eris leaving,
Mm-hmm.
same concept.
Imagine if they told a story like that in American culture, where you've watched this guy pick himself back up, like Mushoku Tensei, and then the main heroine leaves him. Twitter would be up in arms about that, because they wouldn't understand why. Look, I'll never forgive Eris, but I understand why she left. I really do. So I'm just like, oh my God. Just take that kind of chance, man.
And this season, we've got other like good, like under the radar shows like Vampire Dormitory. Decent. The Seventh Son. It's kind of stereotypical, but at the same time, it's actually really good. It has a lot of funny moments. It's not flying under the radar. Kaiju number 8. Good first episode. There's a lot that like deserves to be watched. Archdemon, How to Love Your Elf Bride. Actually really cute. I've been enjoying. I'm fully caught up on it. I'm really enjoying it.
What's the one that I'm Laid Back Camp? I think that's very good.
Well, we're in what, season 3 of that now?
Season 3 of that. That got 3 seasons in.
Anything that's got 3 seasons, you know it's not bad.
By the way, 3 seasons in a little bit under 3 years is incredible for it to get 3 seasons that quickly.
Remonster,
which I enjoyed the manga, so I was a little disappointed by the first 2 episodes, but I get that initial part of the story. There's so much exposition that you just want to get it out the way, right?
Kind of skipping ahead. God's Games We Play. Everybody keeps telling me that it's going to be similar in premise in a way to No Game No Life, but at least from the first 2 episodes, I'm not seeing it. But it might be something that comes later on. I want to watch Dragon Raja. It's a Chinese show. I really, really want to watch that. I just haven't gotten to it yet. There's several that I haven't gotten to that I need to.
All right. So last part, I want to kind of touch into the summer a little bit. Obviously we got Oshinoko coming back, something like that. But the one I'm really kind of interested in, because I've never seen something like this before, is Ayla sometimes hides her feelings in Russian. Yes. And I'm really interested in that, because finally we get to see in another culture getting started into an anime, and I want to see how that works, where the main heroine is Russian. She speaks in Russian. We've seen the trailer. She legitimately speaks in Russian. So I'm like, I'm very interested in this. And another one is the Suicide Squad isekai, because if it works, I think you could see because Riddell brought this up on the Black Sensei Society podcast. If it works, could we see a rash of some of the most popular comic story arcs being adapted to anime?
Well, mainstream anime, because we've seen it before with like Batman.
But Batman Ninja wasn't good.
But I'm saying, like, we've seen it before, but would we see it like mainstream? Like you're saying, like redone, big studios, big stories.
Like, for instance, imagine Batman Hush adapted to an anime.
That would be cool.
Or All-Star Superman
The Killing
adapted to an
Joker.
anime. The Killing Joke.
Oh, yeah, Killing Joke.
The Killing Joke. What? Because I think they should understand that you can't adapt even a run of Batman or Superman because that's too long, unless you're willing to commit One Piece type resources to it, right?
Yep.
But if you take an arc that's popular, like for instance, when Doomsday kills Superman, do that arc in anime. How would
That'd
they
be
do
insane.
How would they do it? And I'm like, I would be so interested to see. That's why even though I don't think I'm that excited for it, I'm interested to see how it shakes out because I'm probably going to end up binging it. And I mentioned a few times on the Black Sensei Society podcast because if that works, all of a sudden,
redo Endgame in anime.
Oh, I don't know. That means you got to do all of the MCU leading up to
No, Endgame. Just do a one-time spinoff. Marvel's got enough money to pay for it.
I'm not mad at it.
But we're talking about summer.
Yeah.
Fairy Tail 100-Year Quest coming.
Fairy Tail. Another one I'm being no longer allowed in Another World, where all the main characters trying to do is die all the time. But he's a writer from the World War II era, and he ends up killing himself with his lover. And then when he gets reincarnated to another world, all he's trying to do is die all the time. But he's like, because I've caught up on the manga, and there's Santo, he's back. I've caught up on the manga, and I love what the manga's doing. So to see that it's a refreshing isekai, and to see that kind of adapted, I'm very curious to see how they adapt it. Don't make it into a Saturday morning cartoon. Actually touch on the heavy topics that it touches. Because if you do that, it's going to be one of the best isekais of the year. I promise you, whoever's adapting this. Don't turn it into a Saturday morning cartoon, and I promise you it's going to be worth it.
There's My Wife Has No Emotion. That one looked interesting. I'm just kind of scrolling through right now to see what else is in there. The No Longer Allowed in Another World, I read the little synopsis on that, and that does sound good.
The Elusive Samurai is getting an adaptation?
Yes. Elusive Samurai is in there.
Oh, I've been talking about the Elusive Samurai on the podcast for a little bit, and I think it might be the best property that Shonen Jump is putting out there.
It's a bold move.
And the Elusive, go read it, Santo. I'm telling you, it's good. It's very good. But it also plays to
Kagurabashi's out there, though. Well, that's not necessarily Shonen Jump, though.
I think it's better. And but this goes to where Riddell's saying, with all these great Shonen Jump manga getting adaptations, Shonen Jump got to make a decision. If the Suicide Squad isekai works, does that mean they take a Santo? Does that mean they take a popular arc from American comics and adapt into an isekai or adapt into a manga? Does that mean they go to manhwa and start adapting those over?
I mean, they should have been doing that already. Look at Solo Leveling, Tower of God.
I agree with you, but from everything
they haven't been doing it justice, though, and that's on the Japanese studios that are doing these.
I agree with you, but Dear Enemy, we love it. We love Santo. Do we not love Dear Enemy? But it's not doing well in Japan, and they're going to cancel it. The way it's looking, they're going to cancel it. And then what else are they going to trot out there?
I mean, it's weird because it needs Japan. Like, if we can get to a point, like, can we have anime or manga in the West not reliant on Japan, on Asia?
I mean, that's what comics are.
That's what comics are. If we're getting something like Invincible all the time, then I agree with you. But they ruined Spider-Man. Whatever writer gets Spider-Man.
Look at X-Men right now.
X-Men has never been as popular. If I'm being honest,
and they fired the guy.
And they fired the guy who runs X-Men 97.
Oof, I didn't know that.
Episode 5 was basically X-Men: The Red Wedding. It was fantastic. and they fired the guy who runs the show because whether or not Disney, just let this happen. Ryan Reynolds has been fighting you off Deadpool 3 forever because you refuse to learn from your mistakes about what you've been doing since Endgame. What's the best movie, in your opinion, since Endgame? Spider-Man doesn't count because that's a Sony property.
No, I mean,
I was about to say No Way Home.
No, I mean, it's
Loki.
I mean, Loki
is a show though. So
That's
if we're talking about anything that was made,
it's the best
Loki was good
thing.
That's
Loki
the problem.
was good.
Since
it's Loki.
But I also enjoyed Moon Knight. I don't know anything about the source material, but
that's
again, you're right. It's a show.
I mean,
movies.
Okay. If we're talking movies, I mean,
is it Shang-Chi? And Shang-Chi's kind of basic.
10 Rings, yeah. Black
Shang-Chi's
Panther
just
2 was
basically
okay.
Black
it was
Panther.
good.
It's just at the same level as Black Panther.
Is Spider-Man? Is it Sony or is it a joint? Isn't it a joint venture?
So Sony technically still owns it. Marvel's just like joining up with them to do it. Yeah, it's a licensing thing.
Basically,
it's the same with X-Men.
Sony has to make a Spider-Man property every 5 years for them to keep the rights to Spider-Man, and they're always going to do it. This depending on the quality. They just know if they make a good one, they're going to make buku money off of it. That's why the Miles Morales movies have done as well as they've done.
That's what I was going to say. I mean, the Spider-Verse movies have been phenomenal.
But that's Sony. That's not Marvel.
Marvel, I mean, aside from Shang-Chi, none of the Ant-Mans, the Marvels, no.
Thor was bad. Love and Thunder was bad.
We don't talk about that.
Let's keep it a stack. It was bad.
That was terrible. That was possibly the biggest L that Marvel's taken to this day. Was
Thor has only ever had one good movie. One good movie.
Ragnarok.
Ragnarok. Yeah.
Yeah.
If you want to count the first Thor, I guess. But that's the first one.
I hope you say Ragnarok because Ragnarok was solid.
Ragnarok was fantastic.
Black Widow is bad.
Which is weird. You don't even have to try. Black Widow should have been great. Black Widow should have been great.
Should have. It's a strong, that's a big maybe. But the thing is, in reality, it wasn't. Let's switch it back to anime. Darling and the Franxx should have been. It should be my favorite anime. If you take away the last few episodes, it should be my favorite anime. But it's not because of how they ended it. And this is exactly what Disney's doing with the Marvel series. They had iconic.
The thing is that they have it. To me, I think we're going off on a tangent on Marvel now. I think what's going on with Marvel is no direction. And what's Jonathan Majors' issue, like, just put another nail in the coffin.
He was such a big component of it.
And then a lot of the people that were a part of that Avengers have left because their contracts were up and they're not signing for more. Robert Downey Jr.
I understand that you had to obviously give them their send off,
but there's no direction, is what I'm saying. Like,
Santo, think about it. After Endgame, right? You take those guys who are supposed to be the next ones and put them on Disney Plus. How is the next person supposed to vibe with Falcon and Winter Soldier if they don't have Disney Plus? Look, after Endgame, I was exhausted. I really was, right? But if you gave Falcon and Winter Soldier their own movie, I probably would have watched it. I'm not going to get another streaming service and watch another one, right?
We need to also admit when something has peaked and it's time to hang it up for now.
They should have taken a break.
And I think that's what Marvel is it peaked and they should have hung up its coats for a minute.
Major. Imagine if they took a year. Like, look, we're just going to take a year. We want to get our ducks in a row. We're not releasing anything. And they'll just make money off the residuals.
But after Endgame, they really didn't release anything.
They released Loki,
Eternals, WandaVision.
But how far
Falcon
after
and Winter Soldier?
How much after was that? Like,
I want to say maybe a few months, because they wanted the audience from Endgame to subscribe to Disney Plus to follow how the story was going to keep going.
Yeah, which I'll be real. Disney Plus and Hulu, if it wasn't for Thousand Year Blood War, I wouldn't have a subscription anymore. Like
I love that.
They're just not putting anything out right now that I'm interested in.
X-Men 97 and Loki's all they have.
See,
I liked WandaVision, but
I'll
I'm
be
in the
100%.
minority.
I haven't started X-Men 97 yet.
You need to watch.
You
it.
should.
You should.
Oh,
it's great.
You guys are among
Cyclops. Mazer. It's the best Cyclops we've ever had on screen. I'll tell you that.
I believe you. I'm saying you guys are among a plethora of people whose opinions I trust with every fiber of my being that are telling me I need to watch this. So I'm tracking I need to. I have such a distaste in my mouth for what Disney has done with Marvel, with anime, that kind of thing, that like it's enough that it's keeping me from starting it because I'm supporting their brand by doing it.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
Like it's not anything against X-Men 97. Like they've tarnished things that I love in such a way that it hurts me to give them that extra viewership.
So
after Endgame, Santo,
Black Panther
they were at
2?
the top of the mountain. They were at the top of the mountain where we could have waited a year, maybe 2 years, for them to get the next phase done right.
They flew too high.
And they flew way too high to the sun because they thought the majority of the millions of people who watched Endgame were going to get Disney Plus, which was asinine.
Be right back,
gentlemen. I don't care enough about Falcon and the Winter Soldier to go watch a show about them. And guess what? When I watched it, it was asinine. Why the fuck does Falcon's sister talk shit about him being missing? Yeah, I don't know. I'm only fighting with Captain America, and guess what? I disappeared for 5 years because I was snapped out of existence. Why are you giving me shit because I disappeared?
My thing is that I think they really tried to make side characters important. I think that I mean Loki and WandaVision to me are peak.
Yes, I agree with you. I loved them, but we love Loki because we saw him everywhere. And Loki had a significant. I understand we saw Falcon in a lot of stuff, but think about this: we saw Falcon lose to Ant-Man, a guy who just had a suit, who didn't know how to fight in his life. But guess what? At the base level, Falcon is a trained military soldier, and he lost to Ant-Man in his own in Ant-Man's movie, and he lost to him.
I mean,
we didn't see Ant-Man. We didn't see Falcon become prevalent enough the way Loki was, the way Wanda was.
I think that,
and obviously the death of Chadwick Boseman played a part, right? Because Chadwick was supposed to be the Iron Man of the next phase, right?
Yes.
But him dying, which means now all of a sudden Doctor Strange was becoming, because I think they probably would have done Chadwick versus Doctor Strange if you're going to kind of follow that mold, right? Technology versus magic, right? And maybe done something like that. But Chadwick was he was so slated to be such a big part that him dying was so unfair.
That's what I'm saying. They received a lot of blows, but I still think the biggest issue with them was lack of direction. They're being pulled in too many directions. We had the Eternals, which the majority of fans had no idea who these people were, and then you just saw Thanos.
Set them up.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it was a push to get content out, which I mean, for some reason I really thought that they spent more time, but then we have Thanos's brother, which, okay, cool. And then it's Harry Styles. Like, what are we doing? Like, we're reaching. Like, at this point, we're reaching for stuff. Then Chadwick dies, unfortunately. Then Kang, who I think he was great.
He was the central villain. He was great.
And now it's like we're pivoting. Are we recasting? Are we just doing away with the character? Like, I think they should just reset everything. Like, these movies don't exist and just start over from scratch. But of course they won't. I think they have Denzel Washington's son being recasted as Kang.
I'm willing to give because obviously Kang is such a. Can he match the level that Jonathan Majors reached? I don't know.
No.
I don't know. I obviously I don't know whatever you say about Jonathan Majors, he was great as Kang. He really was. The problem was he was as great as the show he was put in, right? So you obviously had different versions of Kang. So you technically got different. He was great as an individual, but when you put him in, like, let's say if you put Kang in Hawkeye, ironically, I thought Hawkeye was good. The problem is Hawkeye is not as world reaching
it's not
as
important.
It's not important, but he was great in that because I think Jeremy Renner as Hawkeye is severely underrated.
Facts.
But when you put him in, I don't know, Captain Falcon Winter Soldier, whatever, that show was objectively bad because how bad the new Captain America is hilarious. He's bad. And I'm not trying to talk bad on the guy, but you're not good, especially when you're following an iconic character as Chris Evans made Captain America to be. You're not good.
And that's the problem. Like this new wave, like we don't know what's going on with Tom Holland, Spider-Man in the future.
He's done.
Hawkeye is gone, which is now just a girl, and she's recruiting people. We don't like Miss Marvel because they're trying to force the woke feminist movement.
Well, she sucks, man. She keeps trying to force
and
that.
She's not great. Like she's
not
really,
great. She can't head the second phase. So it's up to Doctor Strange. And guess what? Benedict Cumberbatch has a lot of offers. He can't head your MCU. He just can't.
I have the only thing that I'm holding out on, and this is just me, just finally get the Fantastic Four correct.
Well, we know
because Doctor Doom is the one. Like, don't mess Doctor Doom up.
I was hoping he'd be the villain for Phase 3.
So did I.
Oh, for whatever the saga after is the next saga. I was hoping he would be that person, but now we know that they're getting their own movie, and that casting is important. Even though I'll say this, I understand people were mad that I thought Michael B. Jordan as a Human Torch was fine.
I think they got him,
but he was too young.
They got him early because after. And by the way, I gotta send you that TikTok of the Killmonger haircut.
God, they use that everywhere, man.
It's everywhere. Eddie has it now. It's like,
how dare they give that to Eddie Gordo? Let him have his fucking dreadlocks, bro.
It's probably gonna be a skin later on in the future, but I'm not mad at him as the Human Torch now, but I don't want him now as the Human Torch.
No. He's too like, to be honest with you, Killmonger outside of Thanos, in my opinion, Zemo. I think people underrate Baron Zemo's character. The fact that he was able to dismantle the Avengers, Santo, without throwing a single punch or shooting a single bullet, except for at himself, who the Black Panther stopped. He's so iconic. People don't. Yes, look in my eyes, guys. He's better than Ultron. He's better than maybe Winter Soldier when he was a villain. He's better than damn near every villain that you got. And all he did was play psychological warfare and expose the cracks that were already there. That's how great Baron Zemo was. It's Thanos, him, and Killmonger. That is your holy trinity of MCU villains. Tell me somebody else who deserves to be up there with them. Hela from Ragnarok was not good enough to be up there with them.
And that's what I was about to say. And that's sad. That is sad.
That is absolutely
because of how many villains. Like the amount of villains that the MCU has. And for those three, which I can agree, they have been the best played.
They're the pinnacle, Santo.
Like, it's bad. Like Doctor Doom, Galactus. Like, don't fumble these characters. Just
even
don't.
Silver Surfer's first introduction. If you want to introduce them into a villain, look, I'm not mad at people making her a villain. If it works, I'm okay with it. But if you're gonna, the problem is right now when you made her a villain, it screams woke. So whoever
it does.
I don't know. I can't remember the actress. I'm not really familiar with her work. But if she's good, I'm willing to drop it. It don't fucking matter.
But it won't. You know it won't be because it's gonna feel forced. that's the problem. Like, just have like She-Hulk is like, I always
I'll
go back.
never forgive him for She-Hulk, Santo.
Like, She-Hulk is such a great, strong character. Like, not just strong as in strength, blah 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 blah. It's strong in morals, just in personality, everything. As a character, she's already strongly written, and to fumble the way they did in that show because you wanted to push an agenda.
To have her,
it makes me mad when they use writing for, first of all, they don't read the source material in the first place, which blows my mind.
What? How can you make a comic book movie? How can you make a comic book movie and not read the source material?
I'll send you the
you
link of this video.
Having her twerk with Megan Thee Stallion was the right move on TV.
Well, let's look at this. Let's look at the Avatar live action, which apparently is not bad, but
I think it's below average.
Well, the original, the original team that worked on Avatar started on that project, and they all left. That's all I'm gonna say about that.
I think it's below average. Oh crap, I forgot, Santo. We gotta go somewhere else, but let's finish this up because we are obviously been going for 3 hours. But Zuko carries the live action Avatar. If Zuko,
yes. Did you guys see they're making The Last Ronin live action?
I didn't like the game. From what I've seen, I don't like it. But
I don't think you're thinking of what I'm thinking of. The Last Ronin.
Oh, the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles one.
Yeah,
let's see, because I like the story.
See, Michelangelo in a dark role.
I wasn't surprised that Michelangelo was the one that made it, but I was surprised by how far they advanced his character in that role. I really liked The Last Ronin.
I need a rated R show, gritty, everything, because that is dark.
They're making a movie.
I hope
he was the perfect. But he was a perfect turtle to do that. By the way,
even the way I would have thought they would have used Raphael, but I actually
it would have been too easy to do Raphael.
Well, that's why I'm saying I like better that they use Michelangelo because it's more character to it.
I would have taken Donatello as a substitute, but Raphael. The way Raphael dies in Last Ronin makes so much sense for his character. Mm-hmm. No thinking about it. Straight hands, and he takes the dude out with him, or takes the girl out with him. So it just made sense. But we need to go. Me and Santo ironically need to go. We went 3 hours on this. We ended up talking about Mushoku. We talked Future Trunks. We talked Disney, and maybe we'll talk about this another one. We talked Bartender. Episode 15, Afar of Mushoku Tensei next week. I have expectations. We talked about it enough, but thank you guys so much for coming on. Mazer, we'll do this again next week.
I will be here.
Make sure you pull up to Any Day Anime on Wednesday on Mazer Alter's Twitch, because we are back. Oh, you still continue the Best Husbando Wars, by the way?
Yes. So this week will be primarily catching up on the last 6 months of anime, because the show ain't been airing for the last 6 months. So we got a lot to talk about. Frieren, Sign of Affection. There's so many animes that haven't been discussed just because the show went on hiatus. So this week, if we can get to the Husbando Wars, we will. But at the same time, I don't want to dilute either the Husbando Wars or the episodes that have been missed just due to the absence of the show. So if it gets pushed 1 week, it gets pushed 1 week, but I want to give everything the time and the effort that it deserves. So with Husbando Wars this week, we're going to be playing it by ear. And if we are able to do it, then absolutely. But if not, then it'll be next week.
Yep. And then obviously subscribe to Black Sensei Society. Subscribe to my channel. It's weird when I say that. Subscribe to Santo's channel. Santo, Just Luis, aka Santo Pride, at Santo Pride. We're really ramping it up. Obviously, I've already spoken up on my channel. The last part of 2023 year in review is in copyright hell. So I'm just trying to figure that out. But I'm trying to get the Frieren video done by the end of the month. I'm really proud of that video. I put a lot of work into that because, Santo, you've seen how I speak about Frieren. It's the same level, in my opinion, as Mushoku Tensei, and I love Mushoku Tensei.
Frieren's incredible.
It's absolutely incredible. And I know it sounds crazy to say it could be one of the greatest of all time. Frieren could be one of the greatest anime of all time. And don't sleep on it. I've never seen an anime get as much love from Crunchyroll or other people as Frieren has. I'm talking Full Metal Alchemist, Inuyasha, Code Geass, name all the great ones. Frieren got more love starting out than they did. Santo, the first 3 episodes dropped for free. 31 episodes, getting trailers starting at the season, middle of the season, a memorial trailer after the season. They already said they've approved 2 more seasons. I'm pretty sure it's going to get a movie at some point. Frieren, I can't glaze Frieren enough. So we gotta go. Mazer, thank you so much for popping up. And we'll see you guys if I don't do it live. We'll see you guys on Tuesday for episode 25 of the Black Sensei Society. We are dropping our top 25 main character lists. All the captains. Santo, you making one too? Are you gonna make one too?
Yeah, and Light is better than Gon. I'm just saying it from now.
we had a discussion in the Discord, Mazer.
Light Yagami might be better than Gon, but there are hella people better than Light Yagami.
Yeah,
absolutely. But the
classroom of the elite
was on fire.
The classroom of the elite protagonist, who I can't even remember his
Ayano Koji.
Ayano Koji is better than Light.
He's not wrong, Santo. He's not wrong.
If Ayano Koji had the Death Note, the show would have ended.
The show would have ended probably 5 episodes in. He needs a couple episodes to fill everybody out. Then he started killing people.
We're lucky we're closing. We're lucky we're closing.
El would have came out and been like, "Hey, I'm on the news. Kill me." And Ayano Koji would have been like, "That's a trap," and not done shit.
Ayano Koji's a problem. He's been nerfed. You want to talk about a guy nerfing himself? Ayano Koji nerfed himself the whole show. Still great. Still the GOAT. But we gotta go. We gotta go.
After we get done, I got something for you guys real quick once we're off air.
All right, but we'll see you guys next week for episode 15, and we'll see you guys Tuesday for Black Sensei Society. See you guys Wednesday for Any Day Anime, plus whatever else we got going on. Bye, guys.
Peace.
Deuces.
Woo.